Thank you. Commissioner Lee, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Cruz? Commissioner Foster? No?
Commissioner Foster won't be attending. He gave prior notice.
Okay, thank you.
And Commissioner Singh stated that he might not be able to make it.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee, present. Commissioner Mallett?
Here.
Commissioners Wather?
Here.
Commissioner Watkins?
Here.
Commissioner Weber? Here. Chairperson Zuber?
I am here. Thank you. All right, so we have some minutes to approve from July 6th. Anybody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Second, Madam Chair.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Weber and support by Commissioner Watkins. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we have minutes from July 20th.
So moved.
All right.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Walther and support by Commissioner Mallett. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, thank you. And then we have an agenda to accept. Anybody want to make a motion about that?
Approval, Madam Chair.
Awesome.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Watkins and support by Commissioner Weber for the acceptance of the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Patrick, I saw that you sent some communications. Did we get, I had a chance to review a couple of those because I didn't see that come in right away, but did we get anything else besides what you sent us and what's in the packet?
Nothing in addition to the public comments for both of the public hearings this evening that we had emailed out earlier.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Now we have a public comment section. If you're here and you would like to speak about, we are both of the items, yeah, we have two public hearings tonight. We have Ridge Creek Planned Development District on Warren and Ridge, Warren and between Ridge and Napier. And then we also have the Village Square Planned Development District in Cherry Hill Village. If you are here and you want to talk about anything besides those two items, now is your chance. If you're here to talk about one of those two items, you will have an opportunity to make your comments known during those actual parts of the agenda. I don't see anyone leaping up to go to the microphone, so I'm going to move on. All right, very good. We have two public hearings this evening. The first one is item number 025-PDP-8101, and that is Ridge Creek Planned Development District, where we are considering a preliminary PDD, Planned Development District, for parcel number 025-99-0004-703. That is also known as 50385 Warren Road. And as I mentioned, that property is located on the south side of Warren Road between Ridge and Napier. The proposed use is a residential development with 21 detached single-family homes. Patrick, tell us all about it, please.
Sure, thank you. The proposal for Ridge Creek is to develop 21 single-family homes on a 21.5 acre lot located on the south side of Warren Road, west of Ridge, just west of Westchester. There's an aerial photo of the site here on the screen, and it doesn't show the major mile roads to the east and west, but it shows Warren Road to the north, and then this development here to the east is Westchester. Warren Road to the north, I'll zoom in a little bit more, and you can see the coloring on the map that shows where the paved portion of Warren becomes the gravel portion of Warren. So the frontage of the subject parcel is along the paved portion of Warren Road. So it will have direct access to Warren Road with access to the paved portion. The site will have one drive into it. The property includes Fellows Creek on the west side of the site, which is surrounded by a floodplain. And these will identify in the plans here in a few minutes. So in the site here, we'll zoom in a little bit, and you'll see this more clearly on the plans. But in the aerial photo, there's Fellows Creek that winds through the western part of the property. The western part of the property above the bank of Fellows Creek is pretty steep, and the topography lines which are on the plans show just how steep that topography is. Most of the woodland areas on the west side of the site are deciduous trees, and on the east side of the site, there are large wooded areas that appear to be former tree farm that are mostly evergreen. So mostly evergreen young trees on the east side and older deciduous trees located on the west side of the site. For Ridge Creek, this plan has come before the Planning Commission and the Township Board before. Previously, there was a plan development agreement that was approved for Ridge Creek in 2017. And plan development districts, or PDDs, they expire after 6 years. So the original PDD approved in 2017 had expired in 2023. And at that time, Ridge Creek had been approved for 22 units. This proposal tonight is for 21 units, so it's 1 unit less than what was previously approved. And the layout of the site is very similar to what was previously approved in 2017, one of the exceptions being one lot fewer. That layout is, and I'll bring up the plan here, most of the development is concentrated on the east side of the site. So I'll turn the orientation so that north is up. And there's one cul-de-sac that comes in from Warren Road, and the 21 lots that are shown along the cul-de-sac. Looking more closely at the plans, on the west side of the site, there's Fellows Creek, and that winds through that western part. And then this arced area with several lines, these are topographic lines, and each line represents 1 foot. So whenever lines are closer together, that means the slope is really steep. So if we zoom in, we look at the topographic lines along the tributary of Fellows Creek right here. There's an elevation of 745, it goes up to 765. So there's a 20-foot increase in elevation over maybe 60 or so foot span. So very steep slope there. And also along this arc here. So one of the priorities for both the developer and planning division staff is to not only keep the developed area as minimal a footprint as possible, but also keep it outside of important natural features like steep slopes, Fellows Creek tributary. And on the site, there's also an area shown of an approximate location of a 100-year floodplain. So that area is shown near the bottom of the, so the site is developed to meet the natural feature setbacks from a water course, and in many ways it exceeds the setbacks by being far away from the top of the bank, using this upper topography line as the top of the bank. So on the west side, it shows a natural water course buffer of 25 feet from the top of bank of the creek. And it shows this buffer going through this dashed area following those topography lines. So the intent is to meet the 25-foot buffer from top of bank to keep that grading away from the steep slopes and well outside of the floodplain area. There's a proposed stormwater pond on the south side of the site, and the pond is proposed to infiltrate and then outlet into Fellows Creek. So the outlet will be to the creek to the west. One item I want to note is that in recent years, when we've talked about this site and the sanitary sewer for the site, there have been a number of options discussed between township staff and the applicant. And on these preliminary PDD plans, the proposed sanitary sewer, I'll zoom into it, it's along Warren Road. And the proposed sanitary sewer is planned to go along the south side of Warren Road and then north and connect into a sanitary sewer on the north side of Warren Road. In previous versions of the plan, there have been different concepts of where the sanitary sewer would run in terms of connecting to existing sewer. So part of the proposed sanitary goes through some of the common areas along Warren Road in Westchester, but it's the most direct route in terms of the existing sanitary sewer stub nearby. As a planned development district, planned development districts, they have to meet certain criteria and achieve certain definite benefits for the site that are beneficial to the site and the surrounding area. Some of the definite benefits proposed are preservation of the heavily wooded areas and steep slopes on the west side of the site and along portions of the eastern and southern site boundaries. So along some of the eastern and southern site boundaries, farther south of the developed area, with the exception of the stormwater pond, there's preservation of some of these steeper slopes here, as well as wooded areas in these areas. Where it's possible, the applicant has also included buffer areas between the lot lines of the parcels and the adjacent development lot line of Westchester. Another is preservation of the area along Fellows Creek and the surrounding floodplain area on the west side of the site, including exceeding the natural feature setbacks. Another benefit is preservation of almost 54% of the site is open space, or 11.6 acres. Planned development districts are required to have 25% open space, and this site has more than double the required open space. With 21 units proposed and 21.5 acre site, the density is just under 1 unit per acre. The zoning of is R1 single family residential that has a minimum lot size of 1 acre. The lots that are proposed are far smaller than 1 acre. The purpose of the planned development district, one of the purposes anyway, is to cluster residential lots in order to preserve the balance of the site as open space. So many of the lots, and we include some of the ranges in our staff report and in the packet, the lots are far less than 1 acre. And the benefit of that is that there's a large open space area of over half the site that is preserved. Meanwhile, the site does not exceed the maximum density of 1 unit per acre grossed over the entire site. And finally, a definite benefit is architectural standards that exceed the minimum requirements of the zoning ordinance. There are some older elevations that are included in the packet. The applicant may update those elevations during the course of the review, but the percentage of brick on those homes exceeds the minimum of 50% in the zoning ordinance. There are a number of modifications that are requested of the applicant for the site, namely the modifications from the minimum lot area, the lot width, and front, side, and rear yard setbacks. There's also a request to modify the maximum height of an entrance monument to 6 feet. The monument piers on each side of the entrance wall are about 9 feet, 4 inches tall. The wall itself is not that high, but some of those piers are higher, and those designs are on the plans, and we can bring those up on the screen if you'd like to see them. Another modification is for the fences and walls in the R1 zoning district. They're not allowed in the front yard setback, although there are many residential developments that have decorative walls in the setback area along the front yard as like an entranceway monument. So many times walls like this are approved through the planned development district process. There are decorative 5-foot-high fencing and masonry piers proposed in the front yard setback along Warren Road that are 10 feet from the right-of-way line. 4 of the masonry piers are 6 feet high, and 2 of the masonry piers are 9 feet, 4 inches high. The zoning ordinance allows walls and fences located outside of a yard setback to be 6 feet high. So the height itself of the wall, with the exception of the piers, meets the ordinance standards, but is within that required front yard setback along Warren Road, 10 feet from the front lot line. And finally, there's a modification to have 21 units on a cul-de-sac. The ordinance states that cul-de-sacs are not allowed to have more than 20 units on them, and there's 21 units on the proposed cul-de-sac. Previously, there were 22 units proposed on a cul-de-sac, so it's 1 less than what was previously approved. But because the limit in the condominium ordinance is 20, they have a modification for 21 units on the cul-de-sac. The fire code requires a second access for a residential development if it was over 30 units. So although the number is over the ordinance limit on a cul-de-sac, it's under what the fire code would require in terms of having a second means of access. If there was another means of access, it would most likely have to be another access point on Warren Road and possibly on the gravel portion, which wouldn't really fulfill much of a fire requirement because the access points would be so close together. So based on the non-availability of another frontage and still meeting the fire code, we would recommend approval of that modification for the cul-de-sac. There were some comments that were received that were emailed to staff that I forwarded to the planning commissioners. Through the course of the review, I think I addressed most of the comments that came up, but if there are any from the planning commissioners or during the public hearing, I can address those at the end of the public hearing and or during the planning commission deliberations. One of the comments that I had received was, I think it was at least one of the owners had indicated that they were told several years ago that this site would not be developed or that it was represented to them. I'm not aware of any kind of representations of anyone on behalf of this site or the sales of Westchester that would have represented that the Ridge Creek site would have been remaining as open space. I think one of the emails that came in was from someone who had moved in 2019, and 2 years prior is when a planned development district was approved for the previous approval of Ridge Creek. So I'm not sure who would have represented that, but I'm not aware of anything formally being put out there. Occasionally, we do hear when there's new development on sites, occasionally residents or owners will come in and say that they were told something was going to be undeveloped or something was represented to them. However, I don't dispute that, but unless it was put in writing, we know who said it and when. There's really no way to substantiate that. So I just wanted to say that for the record in this case, as well as the other cases when this sort of thing typically comes up. So that concludes our staff report on the preliminary PDD. If the preliminary PDD is recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, the next step will be for the Township Board to consider the preliminary PDD. And if the preliminary PDD is approved, the next step will be for the applicant to return with a final PDD application. There would be another public hearing, and we would go through a similar process as preliminary PDD. So that concludes our staff report, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Patrick. And just, can you briefly refresh our memories and and inform the audience, like what criteria do we need to use to make a decision on this?
So the criteria of making a decision is whether the design fulfills the intents of a planned development district. So in looking at a planned development district, the main things to look at are what are some of the benefits of the overall district that the application brings that are beyond what would be available with the underlying zoning. So for example, if someone wanted to develop the site and they didn't do a planned development district, they could perhaps grade into some of those steep slopes. And if they had to meet the 1 acre requirement, we would probably see substantial grading within the steep slopes. It may or may not require retaining walls depending on the steepness of the slopes. To meet the 1 acre, a lot of the rears of the homes or the rear of the lots that are created to make the lot area work. Some of the roads would be longer to get to those lots, and some of those lots would extend over the creek and into some of the steep slopes. It's not uncommon for single-family lots to include the creek and steep slopes, but it would be something where you have a private landowner owning that, where sometimes private landowners, they may do grading or tree removal on their own. And so if there were private lots along the steep slopes that went into the steep slopes, depending on the wants of a future property owner, there could be future grading or tree removal because it would be private property. With a planned development district, if this is a site condominium as it's laid out, these areas of steep slopes outside of the lots, those would be general common elements and they would be preserved. And there would be rules in the master deed and bylaws of the development of what was or wasn't permissible. So there's a better chance of having preservation in the future of having the steep slopes in some of these heavily wooded areas as common areas of a homeowners association rather than private parts of a lot. Also, that gets to preserving open space. A planned development district requires 25% open space minimum. For residential projects, when we work with applicants, we try to maximize that. We try to get applicants to exceed 25%. And where the lots are larger, we try to work with the applicant to see how they can minimize those lots in order to preserve the balance of open space. And so the applicant has strived to do that on this lot. So it exceeds the open space by twice the required amount. We also have to look at the overall design of the community, and if a design of a PDD is better than it would have otherwise been with 1 acre lots. So it is possible that with a cul-de-sac and 1 acre lots, we might not be able to get exactly to 21 units. I think the applicant would try to maximize the availability to get as close to 21 as possible. Or there's another provision in the ordinance that it's called cluster development. They're fairly uncommon, but it's a special land use that someone can use similar to a PDD, but there's not as many definite benefits that are allowable. So under a conventional layout, it usually ends up with fewer units, but it also ends up with more open space consumed, more tree removal. So in the case of a PDD, we look at the design. Is the design better than would it otherwise would have been without a PDD? Does it result in preservation of open spaces, natural features, and are there definite benefits to the community? And there's a number of different benefits that are spelled out in the ordinance. In rural areas like this, the top things that we look for are the quantity of open space and the quality of open space. And in this project, it strives to achieve both. With another part that we look at with planned development districts are what are the modifications that are being sought? Are they asking for modifications that are beyond what we would typically grant for other types of projects? So going back to what I said earlier and trying to minimize the sizes of the lots in order to maximize the open space areas, by doing that, that makes the lot area, the lot width, the front setbacks, the side setbacks, and the rear setbacks, those five regulatory items, it makes them less than what the ordinance requires. So the applicant is requesting modifications from minimum lot area, minimum lot width, minimum front yard setback, minimum side yard setback, minimum rear yard setback. So by making the lot smaller, it creates more open space, but it raises those modifications from the ordinance requirements. And then the other modifications, as we noted, were related to the entrance monuments and the cul-de-sac length. With the cul-de-sac length, we would probably feel the same way as if it were a conventional development, just because a PDD doesn't make it more or less of an issue with this. It actually is probably an improvement because with smaller lots, you may have 21 lots, but that cul-de-sac is shorter than what it otherwise would be. So it's fewer runs, less impervious surfaces for the road itself. So building less road, less impervious surfaces, so it's better for stormwater management. And then emergency access, that end of the cul-de-sac is closer to Warren Road than it otherwise would be. So that's a brief description of some of the benefits of a PDD and why one was chosen by the applicant in this case.
Okay, but if they came in with a conventional development, we would still need to review it and approve it and think through the
Yeah, correct. If it were a conventional development, the road would be the same width. It would probably be a longer road, larger lots, probably more tree removal, a lot more site grading. Likely fewer lots. I'm not sure how many lots would have come out at, but it would still require planning commission and board review.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I just like to remind everyone that we have certain things we need to look at when we approve a development, and we can't just say no willy-nilly. So thank you.
Yeah, and if it wasn't this plan and it was done under a conventional by right development, then there would be a 1,000-foot cul-de-sac, which is the max the ordinance allows. There would be as many 1 acre lots as possible off of that cul-de-sac. So Although the number of units may be lower, there would be a lot more site grading, a lot more impervious surfaces, and a lot more trees removed as a result.
Thank you. Okay. Very good. Do you want to move to open the public hearing, anyone?
Do you want to hear from the petitioner
Yes,
first?
yes. Well, I was going to invite them up while we,
I move to open the public hearing.
thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to open the public hearing by Commissioner Weber and support by Commissioner Lee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, I'd like to invite the project sponsor to come up and talk more about, tell us anything Patrick didn't address.
Good evening. My name is Matt Delap with Sing Development, and Evan Priest from LL Priest and Associates is here, the engineer on the project. I don't have much to add. Patrick did an excellent job summarizing, hitting all the key points, but you know, like he said, this is a project we've been working on for a number of years, having been previously approved in 2017, and I think that the version that we're seeing today is improved in a number of ways compared to that plan. And we're very excited. 54% open space, conserving Fellows Creek and the ridge leading down to it. We think it's going to make a beautiful site layout and design. And I hope you agree. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Priest, do you have anything to add? Okay, all right. Very good. Is anyone here in the audience like to address the project or talk about any concerns that we have about it? Okay, sir, could you come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record?
3 minutes.
Yeah, you have 3 minutes to talk. We will cut you short if you go over that.
Thank you for the board member allowing us to represent us for this whole project.
Can you speak a little closer or a little
Yes,
louder?
thank you for allowing us to represent for speaking for this project. I live right behind where the whole project is, the corner house on the Pelham Court. So my question is, when I started looking the wetlands, there is so much wetland behind my house. I want to make sure if Singh is developing, is this affiliated with our phase 1 and phase 2? Because we have seen phase 2 was not part of our phase 1 development. Then they were added slowly. Then they have started accessing our common areas. And I don't want common areas to be pushed into this development. So there is my house limit, and there is certain feet. I want to understand how many feet that is and how far will be the houses behind my house, 50151, all the way in the corner in the code. So I want to understand how far, means if you want, I can show it here.
Yeah, but don't talk while you're away from the mic, but please point to your home. Yeah, that one. Okay, thank you.
So I want to see how far is the common area. Common area stays with the subdivision. That should be not part of this property because we paid premium lot for these common areas. I don't want a house behind my house, which nobody would like to do it. Even the new development would not like to do houses behind each other. So how far will be the house from the wooded lots? That's what I want to understand. Whatever that lot will be, I'm talking behalf of the whole Westchester Part 1, Phase 1, and that's what I want to know.
Okay. And we will take all the comments and questions and then respond to those. So
Okay.
we'll make sure we get to that when we go back to the project sponsor.
Okay, one more question. If this is part of Phase 3, I don't want Singh to attach as a Phase 3, and there is an opening from the property which goes directly in our subdivision. There was a plan in 2017 to make a road from there where they have access to our subdivision. So I don't want access to our roads for this subdivision where basically they become part as a Phase 3 and they start accessing. So that happened with Phase 2. I don't want that to happen to Phase 3. I want to understand, if they want to make it, they need to disclose that before, and that should be bringed on HOA, because HOA owns the property, current Phase 1 and Phase 2, not Singh. So I want to make it very clear to Singh Properties that Phase 1 and Phase 2, even Singh built it, now it belongs to HOA. So I need an approval from HOA. I want HOA to be engaged. Being a member of the Phase 1 and Phase 2, I should be part of it. I should be notified. It should not be like HOA decided, signed some memorandum of understanding to make a road tomorrow.
Okay? Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Sir, come on up. Oh, and I'm sorry, did you state your name for the record? You did say it.
He did, yeah,
Yeah,
he did.
thank you. I'm sorry. And we got your address, so, sorry, yep. Okay, sorry, thank you. Sir, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Jason Walker. Address is 50149 Baychester Boulevard. And so, and I, I think, Mr. Sloan referenced the email that was received, stating that, comments that were made to us by the Sing real estate folks when it's selling us the property. When my wife and I moved in 2019, we moved in from Virginia, and the Sing real estate, I'll say, selling, the sales group communicated to us that there would not be a development behind us. While we did not have that as part of our written contract, we did receive pictures from the Sing representatives stating what the view would be like from our home, to kind of further substantiate their claims of no development behind us. And so based upon that, certainly we certainly understand the need for continued development, but, looking at those comments that were made to us, we would, appreciate the subdivision not being built. We have the privilege, looking at the design here, of being the home that's closest to the new sewer line that's going to go up there. So we're the home closest to that on Baychester Boulevard. And so while that is our preference, that the site not be approved, certainly if it does move forward, we would request and ask that as much as can be done along the eastern border of the Ridge Creek development, along with Westchester, be preserved as much as possible, whether it be the trees that have to be removed, trees planted alongside that eastern border to provide a bigger buffer and a more stable buffer than what currently exists. I certainly do not contest to understand all of the rules and regulations, but I do know that there are quite a few trees there, and I know Canton really values its trees. And so if there is trees to be removed and that per the regulations that have to be replanted, would ask that a new assessment be done to show how many trees are there, so that is accurate, so that a fair representation of what needs to be replanted is done. So like I said, that's we're at 50149 Baychester, and certainly on behalf of my wife and I, just wanted to convey our preference, but also say that if this development does move forward, that as much as can be done to preserve the eastern border of this Ridge Creek development in Westchester would be much appreciated.
Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else? Sir, come on up.
Evening, excuse me. My name is Dick Dion. I live at 50360 Warren Road. The eastern end of my property is directly across the road from the site under consideration. We've already heard references to meetings in 2019 and before that this evening. In considering this new proposal, I went back through my files and reviewed the notes and various documents I have. I had written to the Planning Commission in 2017, and what I read today suggests that the comments I made back then are just as valid to make today. So with your indulgence, I would like to read 3 short points that I made in a letter dated March 1st, 2017. At that time, there was still discussion about what final details would look like and how things might turn out to be. I quote from my letter. I urge all parties to a final decision to consider the importance of discrete, nuanced, and subtle lighting. It is useful to consider the following taken from the township's rural character strategies. Quote, "The township shall encourage use of sensitive lighting designs and properly shielded fixtures which minimize glare and light pollution in order to maintain a high-quality rural character in the western part of the community." Second point, the entrance to Hampton Ridge South subdivision on the north side of Warren Road could be used as a model to follow. Discrete lighting will be greatly appreciated by the residents of the area. It will be particularly appreciated by the residents of surrounding houses. And my last point, I also urge that the entrance to the subdivision be as simple as possible. It would be desirable to avoid large monuments and fencing. Again, Hampton Ridge South could be viewed as a desirable model. I know you'll consider these points, and I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Ma'am, I'll come to you next, sir. Go ahead, yeah. And again, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Beth Vaughn. We live at 49780 Hanford Road. Planning Commission is lovely, but we would rather be almost anywhere else this evening, and yet here we are. I've been on Hanford since 2005, and we were there when Westchester Phase 2 moved in. We knew it was coming. That's fine. Property rights are property rights. However, since Westchester Phase 2 came to be, every year, my yard floods. My yard floods. When we have heavy rains, Fellows Creek, which runs along my property, floods and overflows. What concerns me with the plan is the overflow pond going into Fellows Creek. Again, I understand property rights. However, once we do something, we can't go back. Once we paved Ridge and created a blind spot where you almost die every time you go to turn left, it's too late to turn back. So every time it rains really hard and my yard floods, and when it rains really hard, my basement floods, I'm one homeowner, one of many. So there was a very large article in the Observer, probably 5 or 6 years ago, where they did many interviews with many of us Northwest Canton homeowners about the flooding issue. So yes, we've had a dry season this year. It's been dry, it's been nice and quiet, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be nice and dry next year or nice and dry the year after that. So I implore everyone to be prudent, because once we do something, we can't go back. And I'm one homeowner of many. One homeowner of many. Be prudent. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just remind everyone, if someone's already made your point, we got it. But if you want to make a new point, please come forward, sir. And again, What is your name and address, sir?
Thank you. This is Sham. My address is 50113 Pelham Court. So the half of this construction is right behind my house. Looks like the pond and everything. And yeah, most of the questions are covered by a few of members here. But the one thing is, there's a lot of trees right behind my house, and this new construction looks like it's going to, I don't know how much trees will be preserved in this new construction. And as I mentioned, this construction is very close to my house and the pond and all that. From the past 5 years, nothing in my basement, but I'm confused, like, with this new pond and with this new construction, how much it's going to flood into my house. So those are the two things that's worrying me. And also for record, can you guys let me know how much will be the distance between my backyard to the new construction? Is this going to be like open lot, which connects both the lots, or there will be some trees preserved in between? So yeah, those are my questions.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else? All right, the gentleman in the middle, yep, you, right there, and then I see someone else, okay.
So, good afternoon.
Wait till you get to the podium, because we can't hear,
Yep,
you
get
won't
it.
be recorded.
Okay,
Thank you.
good afternoon. Anton Koslowski, 5039 Pelham Court, last house on the bottom there on Pelham Court, so directly behind the construction. I'm going to reiterate some things, but my big issue is I paid a premium 3 months ago for the lot with the woods in the back. My property values are going down, right? Second concern is it's not Fellows Creek. We've talked a lot about Fellows Creek, but there is a stream, gulch, whatever you want to call it, on the eastern end of the development. We haven't talked much about protecting that. That is a waterway. We enjoy the wildlife running through there. Would be absolutely concerned that this development is going to be destroying that. Same as others, worried about the trees behind my house, all of that good stuff. So as much as we love our sing-built home, we hope you don't put any more up just to the west of us. So that would be the overall ask there. Again, property values and whatever creek gully that is there, what's going to flow in that, how's that going to change? So thank you.
Okay, and then we had one more back, yep, you, sir, yep.
Hello, I'm Michael Robert. I am at 50300 Hanford Road, directly behind where the retaining pond will be showing, and similar to some of the other comments here, not to repeat, but I'd just like to know more about the retaining pond and what is falling behind it. Is that all green space? Is there intent to save some of the greenery, the trees and forestry back there? Because, yeah, like has been referenced before, I'm concerned about where the water's actually going and dumping into Fellows Creek and thus into my backyard. So those are, again, kind of repeating some of the previous comments. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I move to close the public hearing.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Weber and support by Commissioner Watkins to close the public hearing. Any further discussion? I'm sorry. All in favor, please say aye. Had to switch there. Aye. Any opposed? All right, very good. So let's address some of the comments. Patrick, the first comment were, well, there are a couple questions about how far from their house on Pelham Court is the development going to happen? Is the construction going to happen? And I can see from the site plan there that there's a distance that will be part of, is it Westchester? I'm sorry, I don't know the names of all the developments. But the existing development, there's some property that your HOA owns behind your homes, so.
Yeah, and I'll bring up an aerial photo here that'll show.
Great.
And the red lines shown are meant to represent parcel lines, although they're not surveyed lines, so they're approximate. But in many cases, they do get pretty close. For example, on Pelham Court, the question of some of the setbacks, and I'll just take it from like the shortest setback of a rear lot line to about the adjacent lot line, roughly about 87 feet of that property behind belongs to Westchester Homeowners Association. So there shouldn't be any grading or tree removal on the Westchester side of the site. Going back to the the plans themselves, there are some areas along Pelham Court where there's open space that's shown where these lot lines don't go all the way up to the property line. So there's a strip of property that is proposed to be as open space. And it's possible that there could be some adjustments to the plan if the project proceeds to final PDD review and site plan review, where there may be some adjustments if there are some wetter areas to either move the line back depending on what comes up there in order to preserve more of a buffer. But with this strip here, and there's not a preliminary PD plan doesn't require a grading plan, but what we would do is we would look to try to minimize any kind of grading in this backyard, in this back area. These lines, these dash lines here, they represent proposed storm sewers. Storm sewers are in the rear yards typically where the water runs from the back of the house towards the storm sewers. It catches the water so that it doesn't sheet flow off the back of the lot, and then it channels it south to the pond. So there will most likely be grading necessary to get the water flow from the homes and the driveways to those catch basins. So there may be some minor adjustments to this backside during the plan review process, but the design intent here is to preserve a strip of property that's adjacent to most of the lots along Pelham Court to add on to that existing area that's there. And then along this area, you can see in the aerial where there are a lot of trees in this area that we would strive to have preserved as well. So that's Pelham Court. I'm going to go farther north up to the entrance. There was a question about the distance there, so I'll measure this distance.
And there's a lot of deciduous trees because these photos appear to have been taken in the winter when there's no leaves on those. So the trees that you see that have green on them are evergreens.
Yeah, this particular aerial photo, this was taken in April of this year.
So spring before the leaves.
So this setback to the first home in the development to the western boundary, roughly about 84 feet. And one item I did want to bring up is that on the preliminary PD plan, a tree survey is not a requirement. And in our staff report, we recommend that if the project proceeds to final PDD, that there be a tree survey included with the final PDD. And our tree ordinance has certain mitigation requirements. Some of the mitigation requirements show design intent on the landscape plan where some of the required mitigation trees are shown in terms of those plantings. If the project proceeds to final PDD, one of the reasons that we would want to see that tree plan and look at the proposed removal plan is so that we can start looking at the mitigation calculations at that time. In our tree ordinance, there's a number of options that applicants have in terms of the tree mitigation. And the first option, what we typically like to see is mitigation trees planted on the site. Based on the existing wooded areas on the site and the open space areas, the open space of the site, there may be limited areas to plant mitigation trees. Another option is that mitigation trees can be planted on individual lots. That can make it a little bit difficult because future homeowners are required to maintain a certain number of trees on their lots. But in certain cases for residential developments, that may be beneficial depending on the availability of lot areas to plant. In our tree ordinance, there's other options where an applicant can plant trees off-site. They can either plant trees off-site on Canton Township property with the approval of Canton Township in terms of the area and the species, et cetera. Or somebody can opt to plant trees off-site in a common open space of a subdivision or a homeowners association. So I'm not saying necessarily that mitigation trees would have to be planted in Westchester's open space, but our tree removal ordinance does allow for that mitigation matter where there can be trees planted off-site to meet mitigation. So in terms of some of the concerns about looking out and seeing the adjacent development. Some areas along Pelham, there's deciduous trees. Can't promise that you won't see anything, but there's a pretty good vegetative buffer and some additional preservation of trees. Farther to the north, where there will be individual lots, those areas will be more visible. There are several areas in Westchester's open space where there's some high visibility. So perhaps if the project proceeds to final PDD and subsequently site plan review, once we get into tree mitigation, we can revisit some of these areas that are adjacent to Westchester, either planting mitigation trees on Westchester's open space or planting mitigation trees in the rear yards of some of the homes where they may be the most visible.
Patrick, can I ask a question about the tree? You indicated that there's indication that this property at one time may have been a tree farm. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can,
So, well, my question related to that is, I'm assuming that's the huge cluster of evergreens kind of in the middle of the property there. How does trees like that weren't naturally occurring, how does that factor into the whole calculation for mitigation or not?
yeah, so I'll bring this back up here and I'll bring up the illustration of what the tree farm looked like. So what's on the screen now, this aerial photo is from this year, April of 2026. And these patch of evergreen areas, some of the linear shape indicates former tree farm. If I turn off this aerial and let the latest aerial of 2001 show up, the 2001 aerial, it shows the patch of mature trees, some of the larger trees in the south, and it looks like younger trees to the north. And then just north of that, this is an open space area that smaller trees have been planted. So from 2021 to 2026, over the next 25 years, it kind of fills in as the trees go more natural. So in answer to the question of the trees, anything that is 6 inches or greater in diameter, and that diameter is measured at 4 feet above grade. So 4 feet above grade, the trees are measured. Anything 6 inches or greater becomes regulated, which means that if it's removed, there has to be mitigation trees. And then there are certain exemptions where if there are, different species of trees like cottonwoods or box elders or ash trees, and our ordinance includes a long list of certain exempt species where certain trees can be cut without the need for a permit or mitigation.
Cottonwoods?
Also, yes, cottonwood, definitely. And then also, if trees are of a certain size, like a very large size, they become landmark trees. Landmark trees, they have to be replaced on a 3-to-1 ratio. So when the tree survey is done, then we look at those trees that are exempt, those trees that are regulated that have to be replaced 1-to-1, and then those trees that have to be mitigated on a 3-to-1 if they're landmarks.
So this is all regardless of how the trees may have originally got planted there, then? I mean,
Yeah, I think we have exemptions, like if it's a fruit orchard and you've got these wild fruit trees, there are some exemptions there where you really don't want those types of trees, but with an evergreen tree farm, those would be regulated.
all right, thank you.
Okay, so going back to the questions that the audience raised, can we talk about lighting at the entryway and whether it'll be subtle and discreet?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think it's important to keep that into consideration. The site lighting is something that's going to be reviewed during the site plan process, so we don't have any details as far as the brightness, the temperature, that sort of thing, but I agree it's certainly something that we can keep in mind. In terms of the design itself, the intent for this development is to be a high-end, luxurious development. And so the monument that we have proposed, we feel meets that requirement. And we think it's going to be gorgeous. It's going to fit in. It's similar in style to the Westchester development right down the road. But the lighting, I agree, is important, and we don't want to be too much of a nuisance, especially to our close neighbors across the street. So that's something that we will definitely keep in mind when it comes time to design those.
Okay.
And I can talk a little bit to that in terms of the comparison to Westchester. So I'll just bring up a Google Street View where Westchester, just to the east there, it has the brick wall, and then the light fixture it has right here at the entrance. It's like a lantern-style fixture, similar to what's illustrated on the Ridge Creek plan. And then this pier here is higher than the minimum. And then there's an even higher pier on the end. I don't know the exact height of this pier, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same 9-foot 4-inch pier that's recommended or proposed at Ridge Creek. So looking at the decorative fence, the brick wall, sizes of the piers, the lantern light, the entrance at Ridge Creek is designed to be very similar to the entrance at Westchester.
Okay. What about the flooding and what will happen to water discharging from the retaining or detaining pond into the creek? I don't know.
I agree that's another important issue and one that should certainly be carefully addressed when we're getting into that stage of design. But what I can say is with the detention, we're basically taking all of the water that's already falling onto that property and heading into the creek eventually, and we're mitigating it. We're slowing it down. We're putting it into the ponds that will slowly discharge the water into the creek.
I figured Mr. Priest might have something to add.
Like I can add to that, we have, as we sometimes do, an opportunity to probably oversize that and reduce the rate to something less than we would otherwise be allowed as a maximum with the Wayne County Stormwater Ordinance. So typically, we can try to mitigate that as best we can by oversizing that, slow it down as much as we possibly have room for, which just eyeballing that looks like there is an opportunity to do this here.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly do the best we can to do that.
And the idea of a detention pond is that it holds the water much longer than it would otherwise be held if there was no pond there. So it's going to discharge slowly into the creek and not all at
Yeah,
once.
and we can oversize it such that it'll go even slower than what the county typically allows per their ordinance.
Okay.
How much bigger when you say oversize, how?
Big as we can make it to slow it down as much as we possibly can, would
so
be
it
my
extend
general answer
back
to that.
There has to be a distance between that and the line of the property? Like it
There's
would
a,
come down more?
yeah, but I think we'll maybe be constrained further by the side slope rather than the distance from the property line. That dashed line around the outside of the pond represents the ordinance buffer requirement. So that dashed line could be pushed up to the property line, but I'm not sure that would give us much of an advantage given the lay of the land in this case.
And I know this is a preliminary, this is of another review, but what's going to happen behind the detention pond? I assume some landscaping will happen there. The landscape plan is not finished.
Trying to disturb as little bit as possible, actually.
Okay.
It is wooded along that slope, and we don't want to remove any more trees.
It's really hard to hear you. So could you? Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
I believe that is wooded anyway. We wouldn't want to increase the footprints of disturbance to landscape there, but
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And going back to some of the tree removal standards, sometimes with the preliminary design intent, the design is to minimize as many trees removed as possible. So for example, on the southern area, there are a lot of deciduous trees there. So on this preliminary landscape plan, all the pond trees and shrubs are concentrated on the north side, with the southern side left undisturbed. That may change if a tree survey comes in. If there are trees on the south side, and let's say there's a lot of boxwood and cottonwood, or box elder and cottonwood and ash or things like that, sometimes we recommend further removal of exempt trees. And it's like taking one step back and two steps forward, where remove the exempt trees, you don't have to mitigate those, but those open up areas for new planting. So if there's on-site mitigation, you may lose some trees, but then the trees that you get back, they're not only the quality species, but they're also mitigation trees, which means if they die, you have to replant them. Not saying that's the case here, but we'll know more once there's a tree survey, and then we can try to strategically see if there's additional opportunities for removal, because if there is, that may open up better areas for pond enlargement, more areas for planting of trees adjacent to the size of the lot.
Okay, great. And I think you already addressed the question about protecting the gulch and, you know, the ravine there, that we're going to have much better control over it if it's an HOA rather than individual homeowners. And then I think we've addressed all the questions.
Yep.
Other than, we can't control what sellers or developers tell you about the property, unfortunately, that they either are deliberately misleading you, which I don't want to say that somebody did, but it's also possible that somebody was telling you something they didn't know the answer to, and they promised something that they didn't have the power to promise, unfortunately.
Can you guys speak to that?
Yeah,
They're
Yeah.
saying that there's agreements.
well, that
They
Sink
didn't say
promised,
that.
yeah,
They didn't say that. They didn't say, they
No.
said that representations were made.
correct.
Okay. Do you know of any of that?
Yeah, no, I'm not aware of any of that. I mean, what I can say is if there was some sort of miscommunication at the time, it's something that we would certainly apologize for. What I can say with looking at the site plan, maybe it was confused with, you know, as Patrick kind of measured out, there is about 85 feet of common space behind the lot between the property line. Maybe, I hate to speculate, but maybe that's what someone would have been referring to. But at the time of 2019, Ridge Creek was well underway. It had been approved in 2017, so it would have been well known to us and to our representatives that there was a plan for the adjacent property, just not directly behind the lots because there is that common space buffer.
Somebody just represented here, though, that they purchased their lot and paid a premium for having open space behind their lot. I mean, if that's being done, I think that's wrong. That's a
No,
misrepresentation.
I think that was somebody who bought more recently, just recently.
Okay, but that's still
It
bad.
wasn't from the developer, it was from a seller, or from a previous owner.
Well, regardless,
Yeah.
that should be, I don't know who made that representation or who put that in their seller's disclosure statement or whatever. That's improper too, in my mind. It's a misrepresentation of the state of affairs. I mean, to be honest, and I put blame on both sides for that sort of thing. First of all, I think it's incumbent upon a prospective purchaser to do their due diligence and come to the township offices and ask the questions, what's proposed for this property in the future? I hate to say it, I hate to say that there's unscrupulous sellers out there, but there are. Don't take a seller's representation that that's the case. At the same time, I think the developers have a duty to be honest and forthright too about what the reality is, and you can't make representations that property would never get developed. I mean, it may never happen, but it's not realistic to make that statement either. So I do get a little concerned when I start hearing claims of those types of representations, and I'm sorry for people who may have had that happen to them. You know, however long ago you bought your property, and that may be something you take up with your seller, but I certainly hope that the Sing Development Company is not doing that sort of thing. I doubt that they are, but if your salespeople are doing that, you probably need to have a discussion with them, so.
I agree. We should not be misrepresenting adjacent properties if that is happening.
Yeah, thank you. All right, I want to give the commission a chance to ask questions and get some more information. So I'm going to start with Commissioner Mallard, sorry.
Good.
All right, Commissioner Walther.
All of my concerns have been addressed.
Good. All right, Commissioner Cruz.
I got just a couple things.
Can you move your mic closer?
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Can you pan down a little, Patrick? Pond. So, Evan, that forebay looks unusually large. Usually it's like 15 to 20%. And the reason I bring it up, forebays look like shit.
Ooh.
it's a bad design. That's Wayne County standard. They require it. But what you'll end up seeing is weeds, crap. Better to have a bigger pond for storage volume or a wet detention pond, just something to consider for a better design.
Is the forebay the smaller side on the right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's required for treatment.
Sure.
It's the first flush treatment, which is the first, I think, inch of rainfall, which has the most pollutants, but it's usually smaller than that. Anyways, I'm getting into the weeds a little, but this will give you some insight onto future meetings. The other point is the water main. Did engineering take a look at this?
Yeah, from just a preliminary review only.
Okay, you have a dead-end main. Cherry Hill, we required the same thing, a long cul-de-sac design with a dead-end main. Usually it's 500 feet max to avoid stagnation. And because it's not looped, if there's a break, you can't fight a fire. So usually it's looped, and this one isn't preliminary, and that adds cost to the project. So I want to alert you to it, that engineering is likely not going to approve that. Or if they do, they need a variance that goes against Eagle requirements. Can you zoom out, Patrick?
Yes.
So I did some quick measurements in Google Earth to your east property line, just for the public's information. For example, this cul-de-sac at the bottom, that east property line right there, that's about 100 feet away from the Westchester property line. And if you go on Google Earth, there's a huge mass of trees between the property line and Westchester's property line. So the point is, there's going to be a huge tree buffer that Singh cannot touch, basically, that's on the Westchester property. You likely won't even see these houses because these are such tall, mature trees. You can go on Google Earth and see that. In addition, Singh's going to plant those trees in their own property with that little buffer right there. So I think there's going to be ample vegetation and screening, I guess, is the point there. But everyone can look that up on Google Earth and see that. That's kind of all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. And just to interrupt for a second, there was a question about access between this development and Westchester, and I don't see any access points between this development and Westchester.
Yeah, correct. And to answer another part of that question too, these are completely separate legal entities. There's going to be no sharing of common areas, no insinuation that residents that move into Rich Creek have any rights whatsoever to the common areas in Westchester. They're going to be completely separate. There is no access road, and along those lines, the previous iteration of this plan, it had the sewer running through the Westchester common area over till Sylvania Court. And so the plan that we've come up with really has been this whole time kind of in consideration of Westchester, because the easement that we have runs along the backside of all of those lots on Pelham Court. So we didn't think that was a great idea. In working with particularly one of the residents who recently moved out of there, trying to come up with alternative plans, and it's taken us a few years to come up with what we're presenting here today. All that to say, we've been doing that to mitigate the impact to the residents, specifically on Pelham Court on that street, because we would have been clearing down 20, 25 feet of trees all along the back of that court, which would have had a significant impact. So what we proposed today, I think, is a big step in the right direction from that. And then to what Patrick was saying about tree mitigation, to some of those areas to the north where it isn't as heavily wooded, we're going to have to be mitigating a large number of trees, whether it's paying into the tree fund or planting replacements. We can certainly consider planting replacements along that northern property line that's not heavily wooded to help ease that buffer as well.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Weber?
First of all, I want to tell you, I'm pleased to see that you've limited the development to the eastern side of the property and not even messed with anything involving the creek or anything like that. I mean, I hope that continues in the plan, and we've dealt with so many issues that potentially disturb our waterways here in the township that I appreciate that is occurring on this development. Question I have is, what happened to the 2017 development? Why didn't that come to fruition?
Market conditions changed. We sat on it a little too long and then it lapsed, basically.
Okay. The other comment I have, and somebody touched on it from the public comment time, was about the signage / monument at the entrance of the mall, at the entrance of the development. And I tend to agree it is rather large, especially given the size of the development. I wouldn't mind seeing that scaled down a little bit, but that's my personal view of it. If you were actually talking about an entryway to a development the size of Westchester or some of these, or Hampton North and South, I get it, but this is a pretty small development. I think, almost kind of think it's overkill, but again, that's my personal opinion about it. Patrick, Commissioner Cruz and I have a question. We're looking at Google Earth right now of this area and versus your aerial up there. You say that picture was taken this year?
Yeah, August.
So the Google Earth,
I think you said April.
yeah, the Google Earth image that we're looking at is dated May of '24, and it's a lot more heavily wooded than what that is. Is there any,
Yeah, how does that?
man, in a year's
Are people
time?
clearing trees out of there?
That shows May of '24.
That's what the imagery date is on the bottom of the screen, yeah. If you go to Google Earth.
But this was taken, you said April? So
April.
that's when the trees were just budding out.
But look at the, I mean,
Well, I know, but
But
there's
that-
a lot of deciduous trees that are sort of gray.
there's a lot even more though than there is there.
But if he zooms in on those areas between,
Oh, there's.
like behind the lots on Pelham, Patrick, if you zoom in there, you can see that there's like
I know
deciduous trees without
what you're
leaves.
saying. I don't necessarily agree though, but because this looks a lot thicker even without, if you don't put leaves on those trees. And this was only in May, that was in April.
Well,
So,
I can see this area up at the top of the
understood,
screen.
I understand, but it looked different.
Yeah, I think I can show a contrast, and I don't know in terms of Google. This site, it's called NearMap. We have a subscription to it, and we get a new aerial every quarter or so. So some years we get 2 or 3, other years we get up to maybe 5. So the aerial we are seeing tonight is April of 2026, April 7th. I can do a split screen. The closest I can get to this May of 2024 is June 12th of 2024, after there's vegetation. And if I scroll this blue line in the middle across, it shows kind of a before and after. So as I scroll there, this is what it looked like in 2024, and then now in 2026. Difficult to see because it's before the leaves were on this year. So it looks fuller back in 2024. Just along this, if we just look along the creek here on the west side, it's much fuller. I'm hoping we get another aerial photo soon, maybe this summer, and that would be a good apples to apples comparison of leaves on the tree in 26 and leaves on the tree in 2024, because looking between the two in seasons, it's pretty stark.
So April 7th of '26, so April 7th, and this Google Earth picture was May 3rd. And granted, it was 2 years earlier.
And
But-
there's September of 2025, so that's very similar.
Yeah, I can go September.
That's fine. It's a big difference, that's all.
We had a later winter this year too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Commissioner Lee.
Yes, thank you. First, what is the price points on this? Give just a
Ooh, you're
ballpark.
scooping
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah, Brian always asks.
He always asks that question.
Just a ballpark. I mean, it's a little early, but probably starting in the 800s.
Okay, thank you. That's all I need.
Yeah.
I'm very similar to this. Two issues bother me. Not bother me, but concern me. One is water, the other one's roads. And I'm looking at some things that, when he talked about the trees, I could tell in 30 days in the back of my house, it goes from nothing and grows like mad. But you do have periods when it gets cold that all the leaves are gone. So it looks different, much different actually. But I'm not sure when someone mentions water in Canton, it is an issue. I put in French drains because we got clay and we got to get it away from the house. But so when you talked about mitigating it, I'm not the engineer on that, but that is a strong consideration because I think 20-unit place that I'm in, we got ponds that are probably a lot more than what you got. I mean, there's 20 houses there, so I'm comparing things. So I think you got to look at the water. And there's also a dirt road here, and we're increasing traffic again. So I'm looking at what is it long-term? How are you going to handle traffic through the area over time? Because Canton is seriously in trouble with roads and water. Those are the two big issues we always have in Canton. So I always make sure the developers know that these issues are going to come back later when you start selling them because the owners are going to tell you, my basement's flood, you don't want that. And other developers around them, they get affected as well. So that's my only concern. I don't have the answers. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking and where I'm at on it. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Watkins.
Thank you so much. Really quickly, so all of my colleagues have addressed all of the, I'll call it the planning issues, but there's some economic issues that kind of go into the planning matters. And when I look at this development, being a developer, I need to know a couple of things. Number one, Patrick, if you can go back to that plans, I think the site plan. I'm looking at these units, I think they're numbered 14 and 15, that's the fledgling units that we see right in that cul-de-sac. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a fan of what I see here. Tell me, I think for the most part, a lot of times we get the desired yield and then we squeeze houses into a developable area. Just my take. I don't know if that was the case here. Was the original yield 21 units? Or was that done like to kind of shoehorn into where we were and have a smaller variance from the township? Because right now, why couldn't this development be 18 or 19 units, make them larger, not have the cul-de-sac, not have two fledgling units at 15 and 16 that kind of jut out to the, I don't know if that's the west, right? To the west, and make it's already a small development, and it just seems like, why are those there? And did you start with a 21 unit yield? And if it's for economics, we can talk about that. You don't have to go into the specific economics, but I just like to know that. But I think this would be a lot cleaner development without those fledgling units. Thank you so much.
Sure. So we actually started with 22 units. The plan that was approved in 2017, so we're -1 from there. And the whole idea of the unit count comes from the PDD itself. The base zoning is R1, which is 1 unit per acre. It's a 21-acre site. And so with the PDD, we try to build the lots so that we can fit 21 acres there. But I do see what you're saying. I don't think that lot's substantially smaller than any of the others. It has a bit of an entrance that's abnormal, I'll give you that. But in terms of the number of lots, that's where we get the number from. And then economically, when we purchase the raw land, it's with the rough idea of how many lots you're going to get. So in order to make the economics work, you have to get a certain number of lots at a minimum.
Anything else? Okay. Yeah, I think my colleagues on the commission have really well stated the concerns that I think a lot of us share about the development, and we heard what the neighbors have said too, so thank you for coming. I guess we should entertain a motion at this point. Okay.
I move to recommend approval of Village Square PDD and planning application number PZ26-00144, subject to all state, county, and township requirements, and that the PDD agreement be satisfactorily reviewed by the Township Legal Counsel and Municipal Services Department staff prior to Township Board review of the PDD application.
Are you reading the correct one?
That, I think that's the.
Oh,
Sorry, but that's not what it says in our model motion.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
I skipped down that one.
He approves the next project too, just for everyone's reference.
Moving everything.
Yeah.
Support, Madam Chair.
Let me go back.
Let's wait till he reads the right one.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. We've all been there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that.
Has anybody got it up in front of them?
Let's see, what page is it?
It's on page 21.
Yeah, I got it. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
It's Monday afternoon.
Yes, it is.
I move to recommend approval of the Ridge Creek preliminary plan development
There we go.
district. Planning application number 025-PDP-8101 on parcel number 025-99-0004-703, subject to all state, county, and township requirements, as the project meets the requirements of the Plan Development District in section 27.04 of the zoning ordinance and results in a definite benefits.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Mallard and support by Commissioner Wather. Any further discussion? All right, you all will have an opportunity to make your comments again. Yeah, we will vote.
Okay.
But I just want to assure the audience that they will have another opportunity to make public comments about this. So Commissioner Lee, could you please call the vote?
Yes. Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee? Yes. Commissioner Mallett?
Yes.
Commissioner Walther?
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
Chairperson Zuber?
Yes, motion carries. So we will see you again.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I forgot to print out a copy of the agenda, didn't I? Go back to the agenda. All right, so we have another item on our agenda that is a public hearing. It is PDM-PZ26-00144. That is the Village Square Planned Development District, where we're considering a planned development district for several parcels in Cherry Hill Village. The parcels are located on the south side of Cherry Hill Road between North Ridge and Patriot Street. The proposed mixed-use building that will include uses permitted in the Cherry Hill Village Overlay District, including commercial, office, and residential use. Patrick, tell us more, please.
Sure, thank you. The proposed development plan is in Cherry Hill Village, and it's subject to the Cherry Hill Village overlay standards in the zoning ordinance. The site here on the screen is located on the south side of Cherry Hill Road, just east of North Ridge Road, right across the street from the Village Theater. And right next door to the west is Blimpie Subs and Cold Stone Creamery. So this is a relatively large vacant site in Cherry Hill Village, and it's something that for a long time we had hoped that something would come forward, a mixed-use project. And so what's proposed in this application is exactly that. It's a 3-story mixed-use building with commercial on the ground floor and residential on the upper 2 floors. The second floor will also have some office area. It's similar in nature to a mixed-use project that we reviewed over the last few months on the north side of Cherry Hill Road, farther to the east, where that project, which was called Cherry Hill Village Plaza, that one was also a 3-story mixed-use building with commercial on the ground floor and residential on the upper floors. So the proposal is to match as closely as possible the standards of the Cherry Hill Village Overlay District. And I'll start with a 2-dimensional, just top-down plan. and north is to the right here. So these brighter green areas are landscaped areas adjacent to Cherry Hill Road. And so the building is closer to the front lot line. So the parking will be in the rear of the building. And the rear of the building will have the parking area, will have the parking lot landscape area. And there's a dumpster enclosure that's proposed behind the building that will open to the common drive between the subject site and the property to the west. The property to the west, it has a narrow drive adjacent to it. That's a one-way only. The proposal from the applicant is to widen this drive, so it would be two-way use for the subject site and the property to the west. So it'd be a win-win in terms of widening it, allowing two-way use, and helping both businesses. So the dumpster enclosure opens to this common drive, so if there's a garbage truck in the back, it can unload or load and then drive off the site. Some of the features about the site are adjacent to the roadway, starting from the roadway in. There are proposed to be 4 on-street parking spaces that add to the total parking count. And then there's frontage landscaping and foundation landscaping along the front side of the building. And we'll have some images of the building in a few minutes showing what it will look like from the street. And then between the landscape area in green and the building itself, there's a large open patio area that's proposed to be used for outdoor dining, outdoor event space, and active space that can meet both the frontage of the building and the street adjacent. Going a little bit farther to the south, behind the building, there are some small open space areas, and there's a covered patio in the back of the area. So there's a small, call it a courtyard area where this space here behind the building, but not in the access drive, could be used possibly for outdoor dining or outdoor events or some kind of active outdoor space that may be a little bit more private than the frontage space along Cherry Hill Road. And then the rear of the property is proposed to try to maximize the availability of parking. I'll get into the minimum parking standards in a few minutes. There's proposed to be a sidewalk access to the southeast to connect to the adjacent neighborhood. At the same time, there are masonry decorative walls around the perimeter of the parking lot on the west, the south, and the east sides. One unique aspect of the east side of the site is there's also proposed to be a retaining wall. This site slopes quite a bit with, I think the high side is on the east and or high side is on the west and it slopes downward towards the east. So there will be grading on the site to try to blend the grade to match the grade of the adjacent site to the west for the construction, but also we'll have to gradually slope it downward to meet the site on the east. And in doing so, on the parking lot side, there will be a retaining wall. The residential homes that are illustrated here that are south of the site and are east of the site, this is an alleyway that goes through the back, and these are garages of homes. So the site design is intended to be as minimally impactful as possible to surrounding properties. There is a single-family home where it does have a side yard facing northward towards the site. There's an open space area here and a lot of landscaping proposed in the southwest corner. There's also a photometric plan that's proposed with the application where it's intended to meet the illumination standards within this corner area. Getting into some of the technical zoning details themselves, there are some modifications that are proposed from the Cherry Hill Village Overlay District standards. One is the minimum required open space. Planned development districts and projects in Cherry Hill Village are required to have 25% open space. This is a very difficult standard to achieve in Cherry Hill Village, and in previous cases, there have been modifications granted for projects that were not able to meet the 25% open space. This project is very close. It has 23.19% of the space on the site dedicated to open space, but not quite 25%. So we recommend approval of a modification for that. There's a substantial amount of buffering and landscaping around the site for the parking lot and around within the interior of the parking lot and around the buffer. There's a residential home to the east, and there's a landscaped area, larger lawn area with the landscape plan shows landscaping, trees and shrubs along the east side of the site. And then there are open space areas along the front of the site for both the landscaping and the active outdoor patio areas. For the building height, the Cherry Hill Village Overlay District, it limits the building height to 2 stories, which is ironic because a lot of the buildings, especially in the core of Cherry Hill Village, are 3 stories. So there's a modification to have this building 3 stories, just like the buildings across the street and other mixed-use buildings in Cherry Hill Village. For the residential density, the zoning ordinance limits the residential density to 12 units per acre. There are 13 residential units proposed on 1.0907 acres, so that's a residential density just under 12 units per acre. It's 11.92 units per acre, so the residential density is met. The floor area requirements for the residential units are also met. There are some relatively minor modifications from the setback standards based on the existing location of the building on the site, or the proposed location of the building on the site, and the possible areas and some of the benefits it has by having different setbacks than what's prescribed in the Cherry Hill Village Overlay District. Some of the other site modifications that are noted in our letter are for some of the building design elements. We've looked at some Cherry Hill Village projects before at the Planning Commission level. Some of the areas, I won't say they're bad design standards, but some of them are a little out of date, and some of them are a little restrictive in terms of like window design and certain types of design where it's looking for a very traditional colonial look. And some of the newer architecture that we've seen in Cherry Hill Village, it meets most of those standards, but some of the architecture is a little bit more modern. There are a lot more traditional elements on this building than in a lot of other buildings. So most of those standards in Cherry Hill Village are met, but there are a handful that are called out in our letter where it won't necessarily meet a specific requirement like some of the window designs. There's some modifications proposed for driveway width to have it slightly less than 30-foot driveway that's required by the ordinance. I think there's 26 feet wide, which is enough for two-way traffic. There are also modifications for the number of parking spaces, and I'll get into the parking space count in a moment. There is one modification from the drive aisle just south of the building. There's a drive aisle proposed to be 21 feet wide. Minimum drive aisle is 22 feet wide, so it's only 1 foot narrower. And that's only because there's a loading zone that conflicts with it. So in the event that there's a vehicle loading or unloading, the drive would be 21 feet wide. That is wide enough for two-way traffic, it's just a little tighter. There are ordinances in other communities that have drive aisles that are narrower than 22 feet. And this particular drive aisle, it doesn't back into any parking spaces. So in terms of the impact of going 1 foot lower, it's fairly minimal, and we'd recommend allowing for a 21-foot drive south of the building. And then in some areas of the plan, the lighting exceeds the minimum illumination of 0.1 foot candles, but the illumination dissipates once it's over the property line, and it's down to that 0.1 foot candle a few feet over the property line, which is not impactful to any of the residential buildings adjacent to it. So the next thing I'll talk about is the parking. The zoning ordinance requires 83 parking spaces based on stacking the 3 separate uses. If we add the commercial, the office, the residential, altogether, that's a requirement of 83 spaces. The zoning ordinance allows the Planning Commission to reduce the parking by 25%, which would go as low as 63 spaces. if lots are shared by separate uses. So this is an ideal example of that, where you've got 3 uses that are within the same building, so they're all sharing the space. The peak use of parking for commercial will be different than a peak use of an office, which is different than a peak use for residential. So the 83 spaces for all the uses, not everyone is parked at the max at one time. We have some numbers that we've used from the Institute of Transportation Engineers in terms of a more realistic view of what the parking demand is. For all the combined uses, the overall demand at the 85th percentile is 76 parking spaces, which is high because those are also taken separately. It's just adding those 3 together with the ITE. If there was a calculation for a mixed-use building, it would probably be much smaller. Based on the demand of the uses and the availability of the public on-street parking adjacent to the site and nearby, because there's public parking available on the street, there's public lots, within walking distance. We recommend approval of the 72 parking spaces proposed, which are 68 on the site and 4 on the street. We would actually recommend going even lower since the ordinance allows for a reduction as low as 63 spaces, but we think a final determination on that can be made at the time of site plan review. These parking standards and modifications, they're not necessarily plan development standards, although you could put them in a PD modification. We would prefer to defer that decision to site plan review because if there's an opportunity where maybe not as much parking is needed, or if there are some items on the site that shift, that could result in maybe the loss of 1 or 2 parking spaces. One other item I'll mention that if the plan development district is approved, some of the site layout could be subject to some changes. And one of the changes that we recently discussed with the fire marshal was in terms of having 2 points of access. One point of access would be from Cherry Hill Road up the drive and turning into the site. A second point of access that we had discussed is if a fire truck was to come from the west and access the site. So one thing that we may look at in a future design is possibly going a little bit farther south with the drive and then making a turn into the site farther south, which would allow more direct point of access from the west in the case of emergency where there was an emergency response where if a fire truck was parked in the access drive and fighting a fire and they needed a second means of access where there could be a smoother route coming from the west down the existing drive, and then that might mean moving this drive into the site a little bit farther south. So that is something that we may see redesigned between the time of plan development review and site plan review. We don't anticipate anything that affects any of the modifications, but there's just some details that we tend to see when we get between plan development review and site plan review where we start looking closer at fire codes and things like that. Yeah, the site, it has quite a bit of engineering on it, more engineering than is typically seen on a plan development plan. And with the lighting, some of the examples that I'll give with the lighting that we had described where at a residential lot line, the minimum or the maximum illumination is 0.1 foot candles. With the parking lot light fixture close to the lot line, it is shining light into the parking lot to get adequate lighting, but a little off to the side, some of those light intensities at the lot line are 0.5, 0.4, 0.3, because it's coming off the side, it hits the lot line because the light post has to cover the parking lot and also allow enough illumination, but we need to have it cut back. And based on the decorative fixture that's selected, they do their best to do that. So within a few feet of the lot line, we see that it dissipates to 0.1 foot candles of illumination. And this 0.1 foot candles, this takes place within an alley. So it's not like it's adjacent to a residential building or in the back of someone's living room. And then again, the single family residence to the southwest, there's 0.1 foot candle at the lot line around the site, and then it quickly gets to zero illumination into their yard. And then finally, we'll get into some of the building elevations of what's designed. We not only have the two-dimensional black and white, but the applicant has also prepared some three-dimensional views. There's floor plans, there's the 2D of the building itself, of all 4 elevations. And the applicant has also included color renderings. So along the frontage, there's a lot of brick, there's a lot of glass, both in the upper stories and the lower stories. The lower stories have a lot of glass. You can see into the site. There's areas in front of the building for outdoor dining between the public sidewalk and the face of the building itself. And also in the packet, and this packet is online too, so anyone interested can go online and look at some of the elevations and the renderings of the proposed buildings. So it shows the building at different angles, some during the day, some during the night. And also side elevations. So this side elevation is facing east, where there's a single-family residence. So some of the commercial areas, there will be the glass there. Although the area to the east is a single-family residence now, if that ever becomes a commercial use or a mixed use, this having the glass on the east side of the site would be very complementary to a mixed use or a commercial use. And then the areas behind, because it could be, it could be the back of a kitchen, it could be, areas of storage. There's just the brick walls and then the pillars to break up the brick wall. This is the elevation along the west side, so it shows the common drive there. It shows the front, roughly half of the site, with the windows looking into the commercial areas, and then the brick areas. The upper stories of the residential units have balconies. Not every window has a balcony there, but there are balconies in the units. And then the middle unit, they have a balcony that goes all across both of the windows. And then finally, the rear part of the site. The developer and the owner for the Greenland and Saj building is also the applicant for this building. So on the Greenland and Saj building, there are metal panels with a rear back glow. They look really good. If you go by at night and see that, it's very nice, very artistic, complements the building really well. On the rear side of the building, they're looking at something similar. So they call it Village Square. So this is an illustration of how that artwork could look. And then the back side of the building, it has the canopy, and then it has that outdoor space that could be used as outdoor dining, type of flex space there behind the building, an area that's a little bit more private. So that concludes our staff report for this PDD project, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing.
Madam Chairman, I move to open the public hearing.
Nobody else wants a public.
Support.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Weber and support by Commissioner Mallard to open a public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, project sponsor, would you like to speak to, add anything to what Patrick said?
Good evening. My name is Michael Tsakoff. I'm the architect for the project. We appreciate Patrick's feedback. We've been working on this project for a little while now. And as you can see, the site's a little challenging. There's some residential on the east side, the south side, and a little bit around the west side toward the rear. And then we're abutting the commercial on the west side of the property. The site is a little challenging too because of the slope from the west to the east. So we've kind of been working on that for quite a while with the civil engineer. We kind of got that worked out. We really wanted to make this a place where, as you can see from the rendering with the front patio, it's a pedestrian space. We want people to walk, be able to walk on the sidewalk, sit on the front patio. One of the nice amenities that we have in this building is that from the front center door, those doors in the summertime will fold open, and it'll be pretty much a common space, clear shot right to the back, through the back of the building, and then there's another covered patio in the back. So we want people to be able to walk from the front through to the back, and from the back to the front. If they can, pedestrians will make their way from residences behind there. But we like to see some eateries in here that will actually face into this common area, which will be a green space in a sense too, so that people can get some food sometimes, and with some of these eateries, sit in this common area, and again, pretty much keep an open alley right through the building so that we, the pedestrians, we're trying to keep that in mind. We don't want people walking around the sides or in any other direction. We are proposing some parking spaces in the front, and then quite extensive landscaping in the front with a couple of benches and garbage cans is kind of consistent with the Cherry Hill Overlay District. We have about 9,000 square foot of commercial space on the first floor, but that includes the central common area, so it's probably lower, that number. We have about another 3,600 square feet of office space on the second level, mostly toward the back of the building. And then we have a total of 13 apartments. I believe it's 5 on the second floor and 8 additional on the second floor. We're very happy with the architectural style, the results, and the owner has worked with the property owner to the west to try to, they have agreed on this common shared drive, which is a good thing. We didn't want to see driveway after driveway and a lot of, traffic conflicting. So far, everything with it is coming out very nicely, and we have a couple minor issues to look at here with the adjusting the approach a little bit, but so far we're very happy with it, and we're pleased to present this project here, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Great. We're excited about those restaurants you're showing. Is that likely to be restaurant space?
I would
or-
say most likely the way it's kind of, our projection is that the west end, I don't know if you have a first floor plan there, Patrick?
Yep.
Go up there. More than likely, it's going to be mostly restaurants, but, there could be a opportunity for another kind of retail space, but especially the ones that butt in on the center of the common area. I think
That's the second
down
floor.
one more.
Yeah, one more. There you go.
So you'll see the common area in the center there. It kind of makes up quite a large area. It's about 2,800 square feet. So to the left of that, which is the west, I think that the owner was targeting maybe a restaurant in that space, but yet some of the seating and the wall would be permeable. Some of the seating of it could spill out into the common area, but it would be open. It could be open, it doesn't necessarily be closed. And then on the other side of the common space, there could be some smaller eateries, whether they be, coffee, pastries, or whatnot. And those people could get their stuff and sit in the common space or spill out to the front, or even to the back. And then on the far right side, there's some thoughts on that. Doesn't necessarily have to be a restaurant type space, but it certainly could, but it could be some other type of retail space. And then that common space actually wraps down and around the back, and then there's some common bathrooms. Since that's a public space there'll be some common men's and women's bathrooms there that will be available. And then in the back part, basically are like mechanical room spaces, and a small receiving area here in the and the stairwells, which would have access to the upper levels, are basically right through that covered area, and each side will go up, and there's sort of a U-shaped hallway that goes around and services all the apartments. And the apartments are like, they're like average, about 1,000 square feet to 1,200, so they're not super large, but provides a nice mix. There's some different scenarios, but one of the nice things about them is they do have a lot of balcony areas for, so we're very excited about it. aware that there's a lot of residences around the area, so we've tried to be very careful with the design of the building and grading. And so far, it looks like it's,
So that space number one commercial area, that goes front to back, right? That entire space, right?
On the second floor?
No, first floor.
Oh. I think
Yeah, that comment.
it's subject to
But you could.
demand, I'm sure.
you
but
could
yes,
divide-
the
you could
common
di-
area goes, you
No,
can
no,
walk
not the
straight
common
through.
area, The space number one,
Space number one, yes, that space,
that's meant to go the entire length of the building, right? Or you could divide it.
well, I mean, at this point, it's one large space, yeah, and it can be possibly divided up into two, so we're not quite sure on that yet. But that was, our projection was that would be one space for maybe a larger restaurant, and then on the right side of the common space would be smaller types of eateries, and then not sure what the far east side could be, a lot of different things at this point.
Okay, thank you. Hang around, I'm sure you'll have some questions to answer after we hear from the members of the audience and from the commission. So, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right, does anyone in the audience want to speak about this project? Sir, come on up. Tell us your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Why is it so cold in here?
I was wondering the same thing.
So the name is Praveen Sharan. I'm actually one of the commissioners of the board, actually, but today I'm here on this side. My address is 50305. I'm the guy east of this particular development. I mean, first of all, congratulations. Really nice layout, very nice architectural rendering, and hopefully you do bring those cafes and restaurants. My assumption is the patrons of this establishment will be largely people from the community. It's a walking community. I would like to see maybe a smaller parking lot with more setback from the alley, so that I know there's some consideration for even a lesser number of spaces. So we're a walking community, and I think even today's restaurants are there, the Marachinos and others, largely get local patrons. They don't have too many folks coming from outside. So I like for that to be a consideration. So more setback, more green space bordering the alleyway, that would be something. I think that's, in addition, in terms of, because it's a restaurant, is what I heard, the kitchen and the dumpster and, with the rodents and all that, right? We would be concerned about something of that nature. So, and I won't speak for my other neighbor who's not here, but I noticed the dumpster's right next to his house. If I was him, I would have a real concern with that. But that's some comments. But overall, I support it. I just want to see how we can make this fit to that community. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Come on up. I don't know why I put my hand up like that. It's late. It's really late, and it's Monday.
My name is David Wozniak. My address is 50334 Colonial Street. My unit is just to the southwest of the proposal there. First, I want to say I really recognize the need for development of this area and welcome it. I think it's a beautiful design. 3 concerns just jump out right away, or questions I would like answered. First, the retaining wall that would be just the very south of the property would back right up to where my driveway in the alley is. I'd like to know the height of that wall, the general sound retention of that. One of the concerns is whatever the size of the parking lot, again, I welcome more easement there, but parking lots bring problems a lot of time, a lot of trash, a lot of unfamiliar residents. This brings me to my second concern. The sidewalk that you have, that I saw on the plan, does not connect to the neighborhood. It connects to the alleyway. I really don't see the need for that. I would like to see more isolation of that parking lot from our alleyway. Again, more traffic brings more trash and people leaving things. I really don't think it accomplishes, as somebody who walks the neighborhood and walks to the Village Theater area, there's a sidewalk that goes straight up Patriot Street. You're not really gaining much other than spilling out of that parking lot right into our alleyway. We already have a number of problems, I would say, with trash being left there, as well as trash to the front with people overflowing to Cherry Hill Village for the street. My last concern may be just as a general concern, as was stated earlier tonight, we're putting up a big building there. Right now, it's just an open field. We would like it to not be an open field, but what are the water and drainage considerations? And essentially, can you tell me that all of us who go up through there, we're not going to have concerns with flooding in our basement, cracking of our foundations, even with the construction that may be necessary for this wall, a lot of pounding on the ground. Again, you're very close to my garage and my driveway. Oh, last one. For my snow removal. Again, it is very tight in our alleyway right now. Again, when the plow goes through, it generally goes up onto that brim and that property. And, you know, the plow goes through, puts most of it in my driveway that I have to then go out and shovel out. So if you run that wall right up to the alley, there is nowhere for that snow to go. So again, I would like to see that wall move as north as possible, leave as much green space there that there is right now. Again, there is some natural trees there right now, so perhaps that's a good line to start from.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
Everyone. My name is Vash Batolia. I am at 50257 Cherry Hill Road, which is the corner of Cherry Hill and Patriot. I echo all the concerns. They already addressed both of them, Praveen and the gentleman here. So that's good start. Couple of concerns that I had was the west driveway that we have right now. It's at, I would say, 4 to 5 feet above grade level. I've seen that. It's almost towards my chest. Maybe I can stand there and see that it's a big drop. If we are increasing that driveway into 2 lanes, that would be a big grade adjustment right there, right? So that is one. The second one was the easement in front. We talked about the 4 parking spots in the front. There are 2 residential houses, so mine and Praveen's, we are right there. So how would that look like? That is another concern. How would that parking from that side looks like? Those 4, where do they end? I'm hoping they end in front of the building. Last but not the least is, you guys must have already thought about the parking, the number of spaces. I'm thinking 76, 63, good numbers, but even right now with the Cherry Hill Village Theater events and parking, they spill into our alley. So what happens is, the alley starts at the Patriot and then the cars are blocking almost our driveways. We cannot come out some days. Those are really big problems right now. So when we are saying we don't need that many parking and this is okay, residential, commercial, everything, and then we have a path towards the south east side, walking side, I really would vote against that and keep it consolidated to that particular retaining wall. I had the question about, gentleman did ask about how would be the height on the west side. I would like to understand the height on all the periphery of that retaining wall it's going on, because that would be a concern, and parking lots are again notorious. There is not enough parking space. Then there is that 63 or 76 number, and then monitoring that parking space would be another one, because as you guys know, because of that pub that is there right now, my bedroom is right there in front of Cherry Hill, right? The two windows. So I can hear at 2 o'clock in the morning, people are partying on the sidewalk, and I can't sleep, and then I have to really open my windows and call 911 sometimes, right? Sometimes. It doesn't happen, but there are a number of items that I can, number of events that I can really count on my hand. So those are a couple of concerns. Hopefully, CHV Canton Township does
Thank you.
address
Your time
those.
is actually up, but I think we got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Anybody else? No? Okay.
Madam Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
All right.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Weber and support by Commissioner Watkins to close the public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All right. Very good. Let's address some of these concerns. I don't know that I got them all jotted down, but I tried. The retaining wall and sound retention, and then also there was another comment about the retaining wall. The retaining wall, the fact that there's quite a grade difference on the west side of the property that will become a shared drive, so.
Yeah, so it goes from that to, as it goes toward the back of the site, it goes to 0. There's that retaining wall there, but then the height of the screen wall is for the parking lot side, so when cars park up next to it, the headlights are not going to be shining into there are mostly garages there too, but there's entrance ways. So the 3-foot walls we put there so that the light from the headlights would not shine in. But the retaining wall is basically because of the grade difference that we have on that side, but I don't know if it would be easier to see. It goes pretty much the length on the east side, but as it gets toward the back, the angled walkway that we were talking about, it really goes down to almost nothing at this point. At this point, it's almost at grade, but as it goes toward the front, there's a higher retaining wall. There's about 2.5 feet. I understand the comment with the snow removal there. I mean, obviously, what usually ends up happening is they're plowing the snow there, and it's going to reduce the width of the driveway so I suppose that's something we could look at there. There might be more of an opportunity on the south side to bring that in a little bit more. I think we're as far as snow removal from within our site, basically we're kind of relying on that center area because there's quite a bit of landscape area there in the center to plow that snow up in that area. Was that the question? Was the height of the wall?
I thought the question about one of the questions about the retaining wall was sound retention. It sounds like that's not the design. That's mainly for light going into the neighbors from the headlights.
Correct, yes.
But also, the other, I think that I thought there was a question about the retaining wall on the west side, the existing retaining wall, because there's a grade drop there, and you're putting in
on the west side, so we're on the other side, yes.
Yeah.
So right now, it's very unsightly, but if you look at it right now, there's a huge drop there, and what we're proposing, by the time we're done with it, that's gonna be completely gone. The retaining wall is gonna be removed, the shared drive is gonna be flush, but we have a difference in elevation from that end of the site to the east end of the site. But basically, that retaining wall is going to be completely removed. We have catch basins in the parking lot to collect all the water. There won't be no spillage of water to any of the property owners. This will all be collected. And, I mean, we can look at the civil engineering plan, but it's pretty much accounted for, the stormwater. And I believe Patrick can answer to where that goes to. I think it's like a shared retention pond.
Yes, so on the aerial here, I can turn on the storm sewer lines. These lines are green. And so in much of Cherry Hill Village, so in much of Cherry Hill Village, the stormwater lines are connected, and there are outlet ponds farther on the southeast part of the village where the water outlets to. I don't know in terms of all the connections and where the ultimate outlets are. But farther to the south, there's a tributary to the Lower Rouge that goes through the property. Let me turn on the environmental. Yeah, this is just the floodplain and a tributary to the Lower Rouge. And so there's an area ultimately for these green pipes to outlet to. But going upstream, there's some ponds there. These were designed to be regional ponds. And then there are also some ponds to the south of the Greenland and Saj building. They were also designed for regional ponds. In terms of where this water goes exactly, that'll be a question more for Wayne County when they review the site to see, number one, if it meets Wayne County stormwater standards, and then following up on that, number two, whether there's sufficient capacity in the existing ponds to meet the standards, or if Wayne County would require anything like on-site underground to accommodate anything where there might be a shortfall in one of the ponds.
Okay. And then we also had a comment about that sidewalk at the southeast corner of the property and whether that's really beneficial or not.
Yeah, I mean, I know we discussed that with Patrick when on a couple of our meetings. I mean, seemed like it was a good idea. I mean, obviously, if some of the residents are not thinking that that's beneficial, I don't believe it was a requirement to have it on there, but if it's not beneficial to them or they feel it would be a problem, I don't see any problem with removing that if we.
The sidewalk down at this end.
Yeah, back here at this corner.
Yeah, and that's something that we had supported as staff because the main entrance, there's main entrances. If you're along Cherry Hill Road, you can go in the front entrance. If you drive there, you can park there and get to the rear entrance. If you live on the north side of Cherry Hill Road in Uptown or somewhere else, same thing, you could get to the front of the building from Cherry Hill Road. That sidewalk that was in the southeast corner going from the alley into the site, the reason that we'd encourage that is for the residents that live in Cherry Hill Village that live south. If they want to, we want to encourage people not to drive up, and if they can walk, to make that walk. And to do that, if they stayed on just the sidewalk, they might have to wrap around, farther to the west. It could be less convenient. And we thought, based on the existing layout at Cherry Hill Village, we may see some people cutting through lawns if they live in the south side of Cherry Hill Road and they live in Cherry Hill Village. If they want to get to the site, and there are these alleyways. If they see it from there, they may be encouraged just to walk through the alley through someone's yard. Not really someone's yard, but over some of the grass area that may be common HOA space. And so what we wanted to do was to have a proposed sidewalk in the southeast corner where if someone is walking up from Cherry Hill Village, if they walk through the series of alleys, there's a known pedestrian location where if people want to walk up Patriot or walk around Independence, they can, but if they want to take more of a shortcut and not walk across some grass, there would be kind of a designated pedestrian area. Not everybody would use it, but it would be a known area, mostly to the locals, of an easy spot to access if they didn't want to take the long way.
Okay. All right, and then we also someone mentioned cracking foundations from work on site. Somebody mentioned potential damage to their foundations from site work.
Yeah, I don't expect that. Nobody expects that.
Right.
They have to do all the work, and the staging has to happen within the site. The site will have to be protected around during construction with silt fence that would, protect from materials and sawdust. I've worked with this owner before. He runs a very tight ship. He doesn't like to see anything like that. I know there was a discussion also too about so I don't see any issues with damage to a surrounding foundation. any damage that would be done to the road on accident would have to be repaired by the owner.
Right.
And I know that there was a question about keeping the dumpster clean in that area there. I mean, obviously, the last thing you want to have is a dumpster that's somewhere far in the site where you have a big truck running around in circles in the parking lot, just doing all kinds of damage. So the fact that it is close to the building means that they can get out there and clean up after it frequently, and it's important that they keep the dumpster clean, and it has to be kept clean, and you'll see down the street, you know, at I've been there, visited a couple of times, it's very clean, that whole area there, so you don't have garbage flowing. When the garbage truck dumps the garbage, sometimes you have a few things fly off. Well, it has to get picked up right away. So they're gonna have to control that, and they'll have to have their pickups, obviously, early in the morning, and have it cleaned up immediately after that. I don't have any doubt that they wouldn't, based on what I've been seeing from some of these other facilities that they operate. So I'm pretty confident about that. But these walls here that do go around the site, these are basically 3 feet tall. I think that was the maximum that we could go on those, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that was, I don't recall offhand, but probably the recommended height where high enough to block most headlights, but not so high as to be like a fortress.
Yeah. And there was a question from the neighbor about where the parking spaces would be in the front. And Patrick, if you can just show the front of the building, those are actually cut out of the existing easement, it looks like. So those are not going to be beyond the edge of their site.
Correct, those
Those are
will
those
not be
gray-
beyond the site. It's, see it kind of shaded there. There's 4 in front, and they would stop well, because obviously there's an approach for the homeowner to the east.
Yeah.
So
the
the
driveway.
parking spaces in the front do not, I mean, I would probably say, if you take the plane of the property line straight to the street, there's probably at least 15 to 16 feet there where the car would park, which is more westerly of that lot line, projected lot line.
And that's similar to other parking, on-street parking on Cherry Hill Road. That's similar parking conditions to what the other parking areas are.
Yeah,
on Cherry
almost
Hill.
exactly the same as across the street along the Village Theater there.
Okay. I think that's about all. I mean, they talked about parking, blocking driveways in the alley. I don't know that you can control that, and sound, you know, from the existing bar. So, thank you. I think we'll go to the commission. Ryan?
Real quick, thank you so much, Madam Chair. So I just want to future-proof this development. I don't know how much of the parking model depends on public parking, but when you start to look at it from having employee parking, the common area, if all of that commercial is filled, the restaurant, now you're talking about something that looks very different. And I do worry that the variance on the parking, you don't want it to come back to bite you. So that's one consideration that I'm thinking about right now. The second piece is, Patrick, how many parking spaces are reserved for the 13 units by ordinance?
Let me see here. For the multifamily, the ordinance requires 19 parking spaces, which is 2 per unit.
Yeah.
Plus 10% for visitor parking.
Yeah.
Which is pretty high. In ITE, the demand is actually lower, and a lot of these units are not 2-bedroom, and then the visitor parking is also pretty high.
Got it. So my thought behind that is that's getting a little tight, right? And I think it's something you need to think about now, especially as, you know, who knows what that first floor commercial is going to be. Second thing is, listen, they don't pay me for giving advice up here, but gosh, second floor office is just a horrible idea for me. Office is just not great. Why not resi units on that second floor? Just my opinion. There's a plethora of office everywhere, my God. And I really think this building would be better served with a lot more resi than second floor office. I believe I saw that indicated, and this could really be a great addition to Cherry Hill Village if we work those two things out. Thanks so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And I misspoke on that. The ordinance for the residential requires 31 spaces based on 2 per unit plus 20% for visitor parking. Based on ITE's 85th percentile for just multifamily use, it comes out to 19 parking spaces, which is still a little high, but far lower than the 31 required by ordinance.
Scott, thank you.
Did you want to address the commercial
So,
space?
yeah, so no, those are some great comments, and I think the office space on the second floor, it may or may not work. The good news is that the spot that the office is on the second floor can be easily made as a residence, because they pretty much mimics the first 2 floors. I think that they were just trying to do something different, maybe leave an opportunity for, a yoga place or something like that. Not sure if that would, work out, but definitely the apartments will easily fit right back in where that commercial space is on the second floor.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Lee.
Brian, you hit right on, man. I was thinking the parking, when you said reduced, it just didn't sound right for me. Because I've been to events at the Cherry Hill Village. Parking's a problem. And I actually think that the overall vision when they did Cherry Hill was to make it the Canton downtown area. That was the overall vision. That's why they got the big cherry and all that. And that means it's intended to attract people. And so, let alone, I love the development, by the way. It's beautiful. So I like that, and almost like you wrote it just for the plan. The only thing I'm seeing is I thought there was a parking structure that was supposed to be adjacent to this in the overall plan as well, which was going to be just east of there. So all these parking issues, and I'm thinking, do we really want to reduce the parking? Because I already see a problem. When I go there, there was construction the last time I went, but I had to park by the school. No, that was under construction. So I had to park where there were residents parking. You know what I mean?
So you were blocking the driveways and the alleys?
No, not over here.
Oh, okay.
Not here.
I was concerned.
No. I parked in a legal parking spot. I happened to find one, but I knew it was next to the residents, which are on the north side. But parking's an issue, particularly if you have an event. And I'm thinking, if I got an apartment there and I want to invite some friends over, oh, man, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? So that's just the way I think. Parking was my big thing. You said it. Thank you. That's all I got.
Well, that's a good point. If you have restaurants on the ground floor and apartments above, there is going to be a lot of overlap in when those spaces will be desirable.
Yeah.
Potentially,
I might be home and want to go to dinner.
Exactly. Or you might be home and want to have friends over and a bunch of other people want to go to dinner.
That's our conversation. I agree with you.
Okay. So,
I know there's a parking lot that just went in to the west, I believe, a couple doors down. That's a public parking lot.
Yeah, this lot
Yeah,
here.
right in there, yeah.
And also in addition to the ordinance standards and the ITE parking generation, because we anticipate a lot of the customers and employees will be local, a lot of those trips will hopefully be pedestrian trips and not vehicle trips. And we do anticipate, just like a lot of other uses in Cherry Hill Village, where if someone's looking for a place to park for the theater, they may park on the subject site, and they may be a future customer after a show. And I think some of that might just be self-policed as there's major events in Cherry Hill Village. I know Canton Township is doing a lot to draw more visitors into Cherry Hill Village, both at the northwest corner of Cherry Hill and Ridge, where the site shows it under construction, as well as the Village Arts Factory, which has several parking spaces. And there's some off-site parking opportunity in some of those lots, as well as the on-street parking. So, a lot of it will be demand-driven, but during times of area events or sold-out shows, those are going to be the times when we probably see the biggest squeeze on parking.
just get there earlier.
Yeah, that's what it is. You gotta,
All right. Commissioner Weber.
First of all, I want to applaud you on the design, and when Cherry Hill Village was first conceived, this was exactly the type of development I'd hoped we'd see. Sort of piggybacking on Commissioner Watkins' concern about the office space on the second floor. Likewise, I would hope on the first floor space, that there's a really strong push to make sure that gets filled with restaurant and/or retail space. I would hate to see the owner settle just because some office use comes along and wants to go in there. We don't need more office uses in that area. I know one of the letters, and I would also comment too, in response to one of the letters we received concerning this development, that they didn't want to see more commercial space because we have a lot of empty retail or empty commercial space in Canton, which is not really true. Unless the numbers I hear from township officials are not true, we actually have a very low vacancy rate as far as commercial space goes in Canton, so I'm not overly concerned about that. And as far as the parking goes, you're gonna get parking issues in a development like this. I mean, it's just kind of the nature of the beast I'm not overly concerned about it. I think it does become kind of self-policing. To Patrick's point, there are other parking opportunities here within the village that make it more pedestrian, that make it walkable, and which, again, lends itself to the uses that you're proposing for this development, restaurants and/or retail. So I don't really have a big problem with this. Like I said, I really don't want to see any more office space in here, so, but I guess the market will dictate that to a degree. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Cruz.
Can you pull up the site plan?
Yes.
Please? It's like A1. I don't like that plan. That's a spaghetti plan.
I don't either, but you're the engineer. I'm the architect.
Let me talk to that engineer. So a couple things. I was gonna inquire if there was a bike rack, because we should be encouraging non-motorist activity. I don't see it on here, but I just noticed that it may be on the landscape plan.
Yeah.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
It would be on
I
the
want to
landscape.
make sure it gets put in. Here's why. Sometimes things don't get put on a landscape plan that is not landscape related, skip it. So I just want to make sure that that's put in per the site plan. It's not shown on the site plan or engineering plans.
On the other sheet, there's a second. Entities plan?
Yeah, so this is the landscape plan. Up in the northeast corner, it shows a designated area for a bike rack. And there's a detail on one of the landscape sheets in terms of that area for the rack.
Good, perfect. The shared drive, do you have permission from that owner?
So the owner tells me that he's been talking with the next door owner, and he's receptive to it, and he would like to come, I mean, I assume they'll have to come up with some sort of an agreement, like a shared access agreement between the two, so they have to draft something up, but he is in support of the
Okay.
shared drive,
Because
yes.
that's a killer. If you don't get permission.
Sure,
from
oh,
him,
yeah.
there's no
Well,
other
I mean,
drive.
I asked that question right from the start, and he said he's actually very interested in doing that shared drive he has his certain reasons why as well, but as far as I know at this point, I would encourage him at this point to, maybe we have a meeting with him real soon and just make sure that we can draft some sort of a access agreement, and that might even need to be provided to the city at some point.
Township. Well, Patrick, I mean, I don't want to get too far in and then we find out this owner's not open to the shared drive and we've wasted everyone's time. So I guess that's my point.
But they have to come back anyway for site plan, so.
Agreed, the conversations need to happen, is what I'm saying.
They do, but I'm just saying, we can make that a condition when they come back before us for site plan.
What I'm saying is, if I'm the developer, I'm gonna have those conversations and I'm bringing that up.
I understand that.
Yeah, I know the process, Doug.
So do I.
Okay, let's move on.
So yeah, that may be just a timing issue of when that easement gets agreed and recorded. And sometimes it's a chicken and egg where they don't want to do the agreement until they have a PDD. They don't want to do the easement too early, or if something changes during the course of the PDD, that might impact ultimately what's there with the easement. So we could include that as a condition, whether it's with the model motion or going into the board. That way, it would either be part of the PDD or prior to site plan review when they come back with a plan and they show, ideally, there's the drive there. We'd certainly want to see an easement there. That would ultimately be a requirement of a site plan review. In a worst case scenario, if there was no agreement on the easement, then I think we would probably see a substantial change to the property where there would probably be area removed from the building on the west side for the conforming drive. But that'll be something that we look at in terms of a condition and making sure that's locked down.
Yeah, yeah, I'm okay with, at that time, it's during site plan approval as a condition. I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention.
Yeah, and we talked with the applicant's team about that, probably one of our first meetings,
Good.
starting that up.
The parking in front, so that's a Wayne County jurisdiction, right?
Correct.
Have they seen this plan, and are they willing to grant that construction of that parallel parking in front?
They haven't yet reviewed the plan. That would be a condition. With the level of engineering that's on the plan now, it's probably not too early to go to Wayne County with that.
Agreed.
Sometimes they don't want to see plans until you're ready to submit for a permit for engineering. But because the plans they've got more engineering details than most PD plans we typically see. So I think they could go into Wayne County probably right now and have the detail for Wayne County to do that. Looking at the Greenland and Saj building, I think on the original.
Kind of why I bring that up, it took a while on that issue.
Yeah, and I think they even wanted to add more on-street parking closer to Denton Road, but I think they might have lost the space because of the proximity to Denton. They didn't want to go that close to it. So I think in this case, Greenland got 3 spots. I think ideally they wanted 4 or more. In other cases, Wayne County's allowed the parking closer to the drive intersection. So that'll be a big question for Wayne County when they look at the subject site. Is I think on the east side, they'll look at the proximity of the driveway where it's a single-family drive, and then on the west side, it's a common drive, and if they're okay with the proximities there. So ideally, it's 4 spaces, but once their engineering team looks at it, could possibly be 3 if there's any kind of alignment or visibility issues.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with actually, I mean, I could recommend to the civil engineer to go ahead and apply for that Wayne County permit for that, just to get the ball rolling. I mean, it's probably not too soon to go ahead and apply for that.
Yeah, I think it's just a good idea because you start getting them to look at it, your review times are a little less, so it's better to get in front of Wayne County, in my
Sure.
experience. I just got one more thing on the site plan, that A1, where it shows the ADA spaces. So there's an ADA space by the trash enclosure that is really far from the doors. The 2 make sense, but I think a better location is if you go south, or not southeast, down. This spot at the where that 19 is the better location. That way a wheelchair can go right to the doors and doesn't have to cross diagonally through traffic, through the drive entrance. It's a treacherous path for a wheelchair.
Actually, I think, because we had a meeting with the fire marshal just a few days ago, Patrick and the fire marshal, and based on some of the suggestions he made, that approach into the site is going to shift a little bit, and I'm just thinking out loud, as I'm shifting that approach a little bit over, I might actually be able to put that handicap spot sort of right back into this. This shifts over just a be able to go right actually here, right next to the building. And if that doesn't work out.
Could you go back? I'm sorry, because if you're not talking to the mic, the recording doesn't pick you up. So I just didn't want you to say a bunch of things that I'd have to ask you to repeat.
Sure. So that might be, I think, as I'm working on that entry, that redesign there based on the fire marshal's comments, that handicap parking space is probably not going to end up on the left side of that dumpster like it shows right now. It's going to either be right sort of there where the cursor is in that area there, which probably would be much better because then the drive will be on the left side of it. So it'll be more shielded. You won't have that cross-traffic conflict.
Yeah, the idea is closest to the door.
Yeah, that's
as
a great point.
possible, as can be done. That's all I
Yeah.
got.
Thank you. Commissioner Walther?
I second the question about commercial space being with apartment space, because then you're getting public traffic up on the second level where people are living. I would prefer commercial space to be separate from residential space. And then as you're looking at reconfiguring the parking lot plan, I would pay more attention to the green space on the sides of the parcel, just out of concern for those residential properties that are adjacent.
You mean maybe make the middle green area smaller and the
Yes.
side green areas wider? I think that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Commissioner Mallard?
The other thing we talked about already, you said you had a plan for the drive, so there's that slope. You'll level it out, basically, right?
For the shared drive?
For the shared drive.
Sure. So, and I don't know if you're able to see it from the front elevation of the 2D elevation. It should show that. So it's going to get leveled out pretty much right to the building. There's that landscape area next to the building. But that shared drive is going to get leveled out, and then, you can see it there.
It's page 102, if you want to go to that.
Yeah, you can kind of actually see it on the front elevation. So you can see on the
So
left
it's
side.
getting raised to match.
It's getting raised to
to match
match,
the building
and
on the
then,
other side.
correct, and then the sidewalk will, actually, right now, there's a very steep slope from the west end.
Yeah.
It goes really steep, so we're gonna kind of start bringing that a little bit more straight, because we want then the sidewalk, when we get to that center entrance, to be able to walk straight in. But you can see then what happens to the left, the patio, where the outdoor seating is, the patio is sort of then pops out of the ground at that point. And then it starts to take a little more of a drastic slope beyond that. It's really not much else you can do with that. It's just a lot going on with the site. Not only does it slope that way, then it starts sloping backward as well. So, I think the civil engineer did a great job with grading the site, which is a very complicated site to grade. But yeah, that whole thing on the left is going to be completely gone. When we first looked at it, we thought, well, how could we build the wall 4 feet away from this retaining wall? It wasn't going to look good, because it was going to look like a hole there between the new wall and the retaining wall. And I think that's when the owner decided, that's when he approached the neighbor next door to do this shared drive idea. And it kind of really makes sense in that, again, the less approaches you have up and down Cherry Hill, the better you are, the more safer it is probably too.
That's all I had.
Okay. I can't think of anything that hasn't already been stated by my colleagues on the commission, so I agree, this is a nice-looking project. And hopefully we can get some nice restaurants in there. It'll be a real draw.
I think pretty much that's really where it's headed. Yeah, mostly restaurants, eateries.
It's exciting. Well, thank you. Anybody want to make a motion?
Should I read it again?
Yeah, I think you should. Read it again, Sam. Excuse me.
Let me make sure I'm on the right page. I move to recommend approval of the Village Square PDD and planning application EZ 2600144, subject to all state, county, and township requirements, and that the PDD agreement be satisfactorily reviewed by Township Legal Counsel and Municipal Services Department staff prior to Township Board review of the PDD application.
Support.
All right, we have a we have a commotion. Gosh, it is late. We have a motion by Commissioner Mallard, and support by Commissioner Wather. Any further discussion? Commissioner Lee, could you please call the vote?
Yes. Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee, yes. Commissioner Mallett?
Yes.
Commissioner Walther?
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
And Chairperson Zuber?
Yes, motion carries. We wish you the best, and we'll see you again.
Yeah.
All right.
Good luck.
Very good. Thank you. All right, we have another item on the agenda. It is getting late. Okay. We have some new business from Walmart. We have item number ADS-PZ26-00154, and that is the Walmart Building Addition on Ford Road. We're considering a site plan amendment on parcel number 048-99-0022-708, which is also known as 39500 Ford Road. Property is located on the north side of Ford Road between North Lots and North Hicks. And they're proposing a 7,715 square foot addition to the east side of the existing structure, and then reconfiguring drives and landscape islands and restriping the pickup and delivery parking spaces area. Patrick, tell us more, please.
Sure, thank you. So Walmart is proposing an addition about 7,700 square feet. And here's an aerial photo of Walmart on the screen here. And I'll bring up a more recent aerial, actually the same aerial, but it'll be a little bit sharper. And so behind the garden center to the north is where the addition's proposed to take place. So right now on the east side of the building, there's this lawn area. There are no trees there. There weren't trees included on the previous landscape plan. It's just lawn area. And then there are some existing parking spaces adjacent to the building. And the applicant proposes to remove the parking spaces, remove the lawn area, and add an addition of about 7,000 square feet. And then there's a parking lot island east of the site here and some parking spaces that are classified for pickup only. One of the main objectives of this addition is to expand the availability for the pickup spaces. Nowadays, more people are ordering online and they go to the store and they pick it up, they stay in their vehicles. So that's happening more often. So a lot of the vehicle trips that Walmart is getting, it is getting for customers that are not going into the store, they're going to pick up something that they already ordered. So when the Walmart was originally developed, just like a lot of our big box stores, they were developed for people to go park, walk into the building and shop. Nowadays, we see a lot of big box stores that are retrofitting, I'll call it, to try to accommodate people that want to park and have something delivered to their vehicle. And the way that our suburban parking lots are developed, they don't really lend themselves to that because there's a large parking lot, there's a drive aisle, then there's the building. So if there's staff going to and from parked vehicles, going across that drive aisle into a parking lot that's already busy can be difficult. So in Walmart's case, they have a lot of the customer pickup area that's located on the east side of the building. So in these spaces where it's got the double striped line on the outside of the spaces to allow a little bit more width for side loading and parking, these are all customer pickup areas. So this area on the east side of the site, in the bold lines here, is the addition, and it's a long, narrow addition that goes along the eastern elevation of the site behind the building. So looking from the road, you'll hardly even notice it. And there are doors for staff to come out and use these crosswalk areas to get to the customer loading areas. And then also there are customer loading areas east of the garden center and east of the existing building, as well as the east side of the parking lot, southeast of the garden center. So overall, the number of parking spaces will be reduced from down to 602 spaces. Right now, it's at 629 spaces. It'll be reduced to 602 spaces. Aerial photos of this lot show that rarely is the lot even half full. And it's worth noting that according to our zoning ordinance, the lot is supposed to have 1,425 parking spaces. The demand is probably a quarter to a third of that, even during the peak times. So reducing it from 629 down to 602, loss of 27 spaces, there's more than enough parking for the site. And this is a site I wouldn't be surprised in the future if there were some commercial buildings proposed along the frontage of Ford Road as infill, because a lot of those parking spaces just go unused. So the reduction in parking is not a problem, and the zoning ordinance allows the Planning Commission to modify the number of parking spaces. And in this case, we recommend that reduction. Finally, with some of the landscaping, the landscape island will be reconfigured. So a lot of this landscape island area will be maintained, and it'll delineate the difference between the drive aisle a two-way drive aisle will be maintained east of the addition, and that will be separated by this landscape island from the customer parking area. So the drive aisle, which may include loading vehicles, will be separated from the customer parking area. And then the last thing I want to mention about the proposed addition is there are renderings that were included. I think the applicant may be making some changes to the renderings, such as the locations of the doors and other minor modifications. But on the building elevation, okay, great. So on the elevation here of the addition, here's a 3D angle. Brick is proposed, masonry, glass, the pillars, the cornicing to match the existing building. So the intent there is for the addition to match the existing building with materials and style as much as possible. So although it won't be very visible from the road, the glass areas, the brick, the architectural design is intended to match the building, so it won't look as much of an addition. So our recommendation is approval, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Patrick. Do you have anything to add? I'm assuming you are the project sponsor, since you're the only member of the audience left, and you mentioned something to Patrick there about the renderings.
Kaveh Pakshian, 1043 Onondaga Road, Holt, Michigan, 48842. Sorry to interrupt. I don't know what I was thinking. It's been a long day. But yes, that is the updated rendering. The intent is just pull that facade to the east. Every one of the points I was going to talk about, losing 27 parking spaces. We have 48 OGP pickup spaces. Majority of people are using that now to save time.
Wow.
So that's their number that they feel comfortable they need.
Blows my mind.
Again, our truck delivery is going to still circulate about on the north side of the site. So we're not going to be having large vehicles, pedestrians.
Okay, great.
This addition is for employees only. This is not going to be coolers, bins to stage for delivery.
Okay.
There'll be key card access on the doors, so no customers are going to be in and out. Everyone's going to be in their cars, or it'll be Walmart employees.
Great. Very good. All right, I'll just open it up to the commission. Anybody got any feedback or thoughts?
And the traffic flow is just around the bit, so it's the traffic's going to come in and go around the building, or
No, it'll circulate
around that drive?
just that east portion. We're not going to mix the truck traffic with the pedestrian traffic.
So they won't be able to go behind the building. It's in and out the same.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will kind of illustrate on the site here. So I think, and Ford Road is here at the bottom of the page. So I think most customers, and I've done this before, just come through the parking lot. And then there's also going to be on-site signage to provide some wayfinding, but come up from the south and the southeast corner, meander through, and then find a spot to park. And then leaving the site, if someone wanted to drive behind, it's, wide aisles for loading and things like that. Theoretically, the customer could, but for like comfort, predictability, they might want to go out the way they came through the regular parking area.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I got it, Madam Chair. I move to approve planning application number PZ 26-00154 for the site plan amendment for the Walmart building and site changes at 39500 Ford Road on parcel number 048-99-0022-708, subject to all state, county, and township requirements and subject to widening the landscape island east of the addition to 7 feet and retaining the number of parking lots, landscape trees. Here we go.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Watkins and support by Commissioner Lee. Any further discussion? Commissioner Lee, could you call the vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee, yes. Commissioner Mallett?
Yes.
Commissioner Walther?
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
And Chairperson Zuber.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. We
You know-
go quick when you're the last person on the,
That's right.
well, we
I was gonna
still have more on our agenda, but
I was gonna tell you, in the stores now, they don't cover everything. So sometimes you can order it, and it's better to get it online. So that's why your system is working so well now. I've had to do it. I couldn't find it. So it's good.
I hate walking into Walmart.
all right, let's move on to our zoning ordinance text amendment. How quick can we make this? Because I am exhausted.
All we do is set in a public hearing.
Yeah, fast. We recommend setting a public hearing to add a new section for our procedures to, it's a section on temporary moratoriums. So currently, we have a moratorium on data centers. A lot of communities do, but communities have had moratoriums for other types of land uses, whether they're new land uses or they're changes to existing types of land uses. So having a section in the ordinance to kind of spell out the moratorium process that is adopted by the Board of Trustees, it just formalizes that in our zoning ordinance. So that's the purpose. Foster Swift had prepared a memo and the ordinance amendment also. The request tonight is to set the public hearing, which would take place in September. So with that, I have nothing else to add.
Motion to set the public hearing?
I move to set the public hearing for the proposed amendment to add section 27.14 zoning ordinance as provided in the attached ordinance proposed for this temporary moratorium.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Watkins and support by Commissioner Lee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, any opposed? Anything else? I think that's it, right?
We're done? Motion to adjourn. So move. I support.
Oh, you just got a new offer here.
We did have there does say a staff update of ongoing proposed zoning ordinance amendments.
Yeah.
Like roll that to the next meeting.
Sorry about that. The memo speaks for itself. The only reason I put that there, we have a lot of text amendments that we've looked at previous meetings. This is just an update on all of them. We had a new one with the temporary moratorium. So if we're tracking anything in terms of everything that we've looked at so far, this is just a summary, nothing new to add.
I do have a quick question, though. Is there ever an option that we can update the design guidelines for Cherry Hill Village?
It is on the list?
Good.
It's on a list of benefits.
Yes.
I mean, because we've had that come up twice now with the window thing, and it's crazy. I think that's kind of silly, but yeah. Yes, yeah. Perfect. All right, you guys are on it. Thank you.
Spare time there.
Yeah, in your spare time. Thank you. All right, so we already adjourned, right? All right. We had motion and support to adjourn. Who made the motion?
I did.
You made the motion and who supported? Okay, so Commissioner Weber and Commissioner Lee supported, and all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Awesome. Have a good night.